What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories. Strongest Vice Admiral, 1 VA, Chapter 1 The Monsters of the Weakest Sea. See Circle Calendar 1500. On the towering execution platform in the town of Rog. As the execution knife pierced Roger's body, the square fell into a brief silence, and then burst into cheers. Some people cheered because the evil, One Piece, was finally executed, and more people cheered because of his last words. Want Lousie's treasure? If you want it, I can give it to you. Go find it. I put all the treasure there. Cheers came and went in the square. On the fence outside the square, 9-year-old Dylan rides on top of the wall and scans the field. Redhead, Shanks, Heavenly Yaksha, Doflamingo, Hawkeye, Mahawk, Sand Crocodile, Lock Doll, Dragon, Buggy, Moria. Some were expressionless, some were grinning sullenly, and some were wailing. Dylan reached out to catch the raindrops falling from the sky, looking at those strong men who will become famous in the world in the near future. The era of the Great Pirate has begun. Half a month later, the unknown island of East Blue. Little devil, this is the Marine branch, what are you doing here? A bearded Marine stopped a thin figure. I'm going to join the Marine. Join Marine. Marine is not a place to play games, what about your family? Go back quickly. Dylan shook his head. I have no family. Marine at the door froze for a moment, seeming to understand something. In this era, killing, looting, war, oppression, everywhere. Looking at the somewhat silent boy in front of him, whose clothes were shabby but not dirty, the guard Marine nodded and said, wait here for a while. When he walked out of the base again, he was followed by a tall Marine. May I have your name? Dylan. Why do you want to be a Marine? Why? Dylan thought about it for a while, probably because after he traveled over, he found that his new body had nothing else to rely on besides good physical fitness. After witnessing Roger's execution in Loguetown, Dylan chose this well-regulated and unremarkable Marine base from the map. As for why not stay in Loguetown? There will be a lot of trouble in the future besides the smoker who will be taken advantage of, and it is not a good choice. And besides East Blue, people from all over the world and even the Grand Line often go to Loguetown to pay their respects to Rogers, land of the beginning and the end. Joining Marine means that you can get systematic training, and as long as you have talent, you can get enough resources. Even if you can't awaken Conqueror's Haki, you can greatly improve your combat effectiveness with Marine 6 styles. Iron Body, forget it. For peace. Dylan looked at the Marine flag flying in the center of the base and said with certainty. Peace. Following Dylan's gaze, Marine also saw the flag, and it was that flag that frightened and guarded the sea. Register him, handyman, he can participate in basic training and be responsible for some chores. Yes. After speaking, the tall Marine turned and went in, and the Marine who was at the door waved to Dylan. Come with me, boy, we will be companions from now on, ha ha ha. See Circle Calendar 1512. Major, the headquarters summoned to find the track of red hair pirates in East Blue. Shanks. Dylan subconsciously reached for the knife next to him. Did he come to East Blue? Redhead, what the hell is he in East Blue for? See Buggy, heading to the town of Rog for nostalgia. Advertisement. As one of the future 4 emperors, it is impossible for the redhead not to know that the kingdom of Goa is Garp's hometown. Then what was he doing in Windmill Town? Looking for Garp fencing. At present, he should not have this strength. Or, to Shimotsuki Village. What does the base chief mean? It's enough to report the trajectory, no confrontation is required. Understood, tell the base commander, I will go out for a few days. Yes. Coming out of the base, Dylan had already changed into his regular uniform. The long white hair is casually scattered on the shoulders, the height of 2.4 meters and the long hair make the figure look taller and slender, and there is a trace of coldness on the handsome face. The black scabbard was casually inserted around his waist, and Dylan put one hand on the handle and the other hand in his trouser pocket and boarded the boat to the kingdom of Goa. Goa Kingdom Sea Area. A small boat floats on the sea. In the distance is an equally small pirate ship. The ship's flag is a skull with a scar on its left eye. Boss, there is someone in front who seems to be coming towards us. Usopp picked up the binoculars and looked over, describing the appearance of the other party in his mouth. There is only one person, no flag, no marine costume, and a very long knife. Oh, is it a swordsman? The redhead walked from the cabin to the deck wrapped in bloody gauze, and looked in the direction Usopp was looking at. As if sensing his gaze, the people on board raised their heads at the same time. There seems to be no kindness. Shanks, shall I go? Said Ben Beckman, smoking a cigarette nearby. Wait. Shanks raised his right hand. Lean over and have a look. When the 2 boats approached, Shanks stood on the side of the boat and looked at the boat floating beside him. It seems that you are waiting for me. Dylan raised his head, but didn't touch the knife that was tilted aside. Yes. Come up to chat. Or should I go down? Dylan picked up the long knife, and his figure appeared on the deck of the red-haired pirate ship in a flash. Bring the wine. Hong waved his hand to stop the crew members who were about to move, and interrupted their thoughts of persuasion. This is the wine from my hometown. It tastes different from East Blue. Try it. After a big bowl of spirits poured down his throat, Shanks asked with a smile, how is it? Dylan nodded without comment. Seeing this, Shanks put down the big bowl in his hand, and his expression became serious. Then, why are you waiting for me here? Marine. Hearing the word, Marine, the rest of the expressions immediately became tense again. Usopp even raised the spear slightly, but was pressed down by Ben Beckman's hand. Ignoring other people's petty gestures, Dylan looked Shanks straight in the eyes and asked, "What are you doing in East Blue? Is the new world not enough for you? It's just traveling around the world, isn't it normal for pirates?" Shanks looked at Dylan with a smile, but his face was not relaxed. Dylan looked Shanks straight in the eye, as if he didn't believe that statement. Shanks and him looked at each other and then laughed. "Sorry, as for the deeper reasons, I can't tell you for the time being." Hearing the redhead's answer, Dylan stood up and looked around. "Don't stay in East Blue for too long." After saying that, Dylan jumped off the side of the boat. After the boat traveled a distance, Shanks seemed to remember something, and asked Dylan standing on the side of the boat, "What about you? Why are you in East Blue again?" Dylan didn't look back, and raised his hand with his back to Shanks. "I'm like you, and I won't stay here for too long." After Dylan's boat disappeared from view, Shanks was still gazing out at the sea. Shanks. "Ah, I'm fine, what an interesting guy." Turning around, Shanks grinned at the crew. "I didn't expect East Blue to have so many interesting people, is it really the captain's hometown?" East Blue. Usopp, who was also from East Blue, laughed loudly. East Blue is called the weakest sea. Before the others could react, Shanks was stunned, and Ben Beckman's hand holding the cigarette froze in the air. Lackey Lou gnawed at his bones and asked, "What's going on?" "You too." Shanks smiled wryly and did not speak. Ben Beckman took a deep breath and said, "We used to think that East Blue's weak performance was due to the problem of the root and Garp. Now it seems, quote, call." After exhaling a thick puff of smoke, Ben Beckman said, "East Blue, besides Garp, hides a great guy." Chapter 2 or Squinting Eyes Monsters. Back at the branch, just in time to meet the oncoming base chief. He is no longer the tall man he was back then. More than 10 years have passed, and many things have changed. The original head of the base, including the Marine who led him in, is gone. The current head of the base is a strong man named Hans, who was only transferred half a year ago, with the rank of colonel. "Dylan." Hans looked at Dylan who was about to walk in and stopped him. "Have you gone to find red hair?" Dylan nodded. Looked at it from a distance, but didn't make contact. After all, this guy has been very popular in recent years. Hans agreed. "Shanks, this guy has indeed been very popular in the past few years. Although there is a lot of power gap with the older generation, it is said that he has a place in New World." After Roger's death, the arrogance of the pirates was not suppressed, but intensified. In today's New World, people call Whitebeard, Big Mom, and Beasts the Emperor of the Sea. Nonsense. By the way, the pressure on the Grand Line has been increasing over the past few years, and the headquarters has issued a summoning order. I heard that you refused before. Hans didn't know much about Dylan's past, only some elderly veterans vaguely remembered that this guy had been in the branch for a long time. Even his military rank has reached the level of a major in small accumulations. "Major, you need to go to the headquarters to be awarded the title. Your title has not been officially completed, this time." "I'm going this time, when?" Dylan looked past Hans, looking at the Marine's flag waving in the wind as before. Hans breathed a sigh of relief. This guy has a very high prestige in the branch, and in many cases, Dylan's orders are more effective than those of him, the head of the base. "As soon as possible, due to the consideration of the distance, I will give you 3 months, and I will report to the headquarters if possible." Hans once studied Dylan's information, and the information left by the former base chief shows. Adams Dylan. The place of birth is unknown. Orphan. Joined the Marine at the age of 9. Calm personality, physical fitness penultimate. Uphold justice and peace. Then there are the achievements and feats of Dylan supplemented by successive base chiefs. Dozens of pages are densely packed, although they are all some pirates with low rewards, but there are too many to hold. During his tenure, Dylan also personally added nearly 4 pages of record feats. What a monster. Looking at Dylan going away, Hans muttered. Shimotsuki Village. Dylan stretched as he stepped onto the island. Unexpectedly, this place happened to be on the route. People around saw him throwing the long black knife with strange expressions. "Are you here to challenge Koshiro too?" Dylan followed the voice and saw that it was a young man with a knife pinned to his waist. "No, just to see. In the original book, Shimotsuki Village is inextricably linked to Wano-kuni and the Revolutionary Army, and that squinting-eyed Koshiro does not seem to be a simple character." Before Dylan finished speaking, a rough voice suddenly came from behind. "Hey. You knife thief." Dylan continued to walk forward as if he hadn't heard of it, and the voice behind him burst into anger. "What about you? The one in white, who stole my famous knife, is he going to leave?" Dylan paused, turned around and looked over. A Ronin with a shaved head was staring at the black scabbard on Dylan's waist with bright eyes. The Ronin licked his parched lips. This must be a good knife. He could even feel that even hiding it in the scabbard couldn't conceal its sharpness. The onlookers saw him and retreated to the side. "This guy is a famous Ronin in the neighborhood, and he is as fast as lightning. But he is a rogue, and I don't know why the rogue has such a talent for swordsmanship. Is this your knife?" Dylan raised his eyelids casually, looking at the man with Tsukio's hair. Advertisement. This hairstyle annoys him. "Give you 5 seconds, get out of my sight." A cold voice sounded in Ronin's ear. Not only was the Ronin not afraid, but he laughed, and then he leaned forward slightly, holding the handle of the knife on the left side of his body with his right hand. "In that case, A red light flashed, and Ronan suddenly felt a cold feeling on his neck. Then he felt dizzy for a while, and saw a scene that was very puzzling to him. Who is this? Why wear your own clothes? Still holding your own knife. This time, I really met a knife thief. There was an exclamation from the crowd, and Dylan turned and left without paying attention. I'm sorry, it's been the blood of these trash fish all along. There was a slight vibration from the black scabbard around his waist. One Heart Dojo. Koshiro got up slowly when he heard the noise outside and walked to the door. Dylan was already standing in the courtyard, while a large group of people stood outside the gate, seemingly waiting for something. Koshiro, wearing glasses, smiled at Dylan. Excuse me. Dylan looked at Koshiro's weak look, and suddenly thought of something interesting. I heard that guys with squinting eyes are very strong. The people watching outside the door said, oh, neatly, and then showed an expression that really did. The guest was joking. Koshiro didn't seem to be angry at all, and still asked politely, excuse me, guest. Dylan smiled. Just kidding, I'm not here to find fault, I just want the curator to show me the knife. Oh, Koshiro looked towards the long knife on Dylan's waist. Inside please, guest. Seeing that there was no fight, the people outside the door left in disappointment. With a pitch black scabbard and a dark red handle, Koshiro held Dylan's long knife in both hands and frowned slightly. As if with a hint of anticipation and a hint of entanglement, Koshiro slowly pulled out the long knife. A bloody smell rushed from the black-red knife, and there was even a faint ray of blood escaping from the knife. Snapped. Koshiro immediately put away the blade and handed it back to Dylan. Sura, one of the 12 masters of the supreme sword. Dylan took Shura, stroked the scabbard lightly, and the bloody smell in the air disappeared instantly. Is there any characteristic? Koshiro looked at Dylan with some surprise. As for the characteristics, hasn't the guest already brought out its characteristics to the fullest? As that's so, Dylan stood up and greeted Koshiro slightly. Thank you. After Dylan left, Koshiro swallowed a bean-sized bead of sweat on his forehead. Sura was turned into a black sword by him, and he surrendered to him so much. After calming down, Koshiro returned to his original smiling face with squinting eyes and waved to the screen next to him, saying, come out, were you scared just now? Short-haired Kuina and a green algae head poked out from the side. Father, that person just now. Ah, you are still far away from him, but, if you want to become the world's #1 swordsman in the future, I think, he must be one of your biggest obstacles. Just now, Shira just showed a trace of breath, which made the two of them almost faint. Even if they are usually very strong, they can't say anything big at this time. Ji Yuna clenched her fists tightly, turned and left without saying a word. Green algae gritted her teeth and said, damn it. And then ran out. Koshiro looked at the two with a smile on his face. The #1 swordsman in the world. Koshiro still felt suffocated thinking of that seemingly unknown man. After verifying Dylan's identity, the patrolman guarding the small port saluted Dylan with a snap, and watched Dylan go away. The public had confirmed before that it was the Ronin who tried to snatch the man's weapon, which led to the duel. Although death by duel is not legally allowed, but, if it was an attack on major naval headquarters instead, there would be no problem. On a medium-sized merchant ship, Dylan rested on the side of the ship. The lookout on the mast suddenly shouted, no, it's a pirate ship. After careful observation, the watchman's voice was distorted. Yes, it's Creek Pirates. Chapter 3 What king are you? Delador Nord Saberu, the main ship of the Creek Pirates, the huge sailing ship with 3 decks and the Black Panther on the bow is the nightmare of all merchant ships in the nearby waters. Little ones, Master Crick's name will definitely resound throughout the world. Oh, Master Admiral, there is a merchant ship ahead. Merchant ships. Creek grinned, there are merchant ships that dare to show up where I am, Mr. Creek. Little ones, here comes the fun. Oh, it took less than 10 minutes for the huge Delador Nord Sabel to lean against the merchant ship. The merchant ship did not dare to turn the rudder and escape. Creek Pirates, if you encounter them, ordinary merchant ships will not be able to compete with them in horsepower and escape. And if you try to escape, he will kill everyone on board when he catches up to you. Begging for mercy may not be useful, because there is that cold-blooded and brutal man on board besides Crick. Ghost. Ah Jin, I just hope that man is not on board today, or not involved in this robbery. Dylan squinted at the bewildered and hopeless sailors and merchants. Creek, has this guy not gone on the great voyage yet? This guy's area of activity was not near Dylan's branch before, and I didn't deliberately look for him, but now I think about it. East Blue does have such a #1. But what does he seem to call himself, the overlord of the East Blue? Or the king of the East Blue? Dylan stood up holding the knife, and the sailors and merchants who were kneeling on the deck next to him screamed in fright when they saw the young man on the boat standing on the bow with a weapon. Hey, stranger, come back quickly, you will kill us like this. Dylan tilted his head and thought for a while. I remember that there was a guy named Ajin on his boat. He seemed to be very cruel and never kept alive. Could you just kneel here and pray for your life? Hearing the name of Ghost Man Ajin, the faces of the people on the deck turned pale for a while, but they still had a little fantasy. Maybe, Ghost Man Ajin is not on board today. Stranger, we are kind enough to pick you up, don't you? Ah, thank you for giving me a ride, as a thank you gift. The eyes of everyone on the merchant ship flashed, and the young man who was standing at the bow disappeared. There was a burst of hope in everyone's heart, but more despair. In this sea area, whether it is against other pirates or the army, the Crick Pirates has never had a defeat. On the top deck of the Deladornod Saberu, below the iron wall was B*************G on the shields on his arms. Hey ha ha ha, I will become the strongest shield of the Admiral. Really? How strong is it? An indifferent voice rang clearly in everyone's ears. On the prow of the huge Black Panther, stood a man wearing white clothes and holding a long knife. His long white hair in a shawl was flying in the wind. Iron wall. Baloo's head didn't seem to be working well. Before he could react, Ghost Man, Agent came out first. Who are you? The height of the Delador Nord Saberu, the person who can appear silently at the bow of the ship is not necessarily easy to mess with. Marine. Only then did Iron Wall, Baloo react, and rushed to Agent with a strange cry. A mere Marine, how dare you? Kai. Dylan gently pushed Shura's blade with the thumb of his left hand, and a red ripple flew out from the blade that was only an inch long. A mere Marine. Dylan jumped off the bow and walked past the Iron Wall, Baru who had been split in two from forehead to crotch. Ghostman. Ah Jin swallowed, but didn't back down. Marine, you want to be with the King of East Blue. Huh. Dylan narrowed his eyes, and a gust of wind spread from around Dylan's body, and the surrounding pirates suddenly felt a strong impact, and then felt dizzy for a while. Then they lost consciousness. Hundreds of crew members fell to the ground like grass blown by a strong wind. Only Admiral, Crick and Ghost, Agent were left on the deck, barely able to stay awake, but already profusely sweating. Hey, what's this? Crick was wearing golden armor, barely standing upright. Don't underestimate us, Marine. I'm. A line of blood flew across, and two human heads flew high. Advertisement. What king are you? After jumping to the top of the mast and sticking Crick's head on top, Dylan rejoined the merchant ship. Come on, they won't come. You. Just as the first officer on the merchant ship was about to speak, the pupils of the lookout on the mast shrank. Yes, it's Crick's head. He's dead. Hearing what the lookout said, the first officer looked in surprise at the indifferent young man in front of him. He did disappear just now, but it wasn't long before Crick Pirates. Set sail. The sails were slowly raised, and Dylan held the handle of Shura's knife with his right hand as he looked at the Deladonid Saberu, which was getting farther and farther away in his sight. King of the East Blue. A crimson light flew out from the stern of the ship, directly dividing the Deladornod Saberu in the distance into two from the bow to the stern. East Blue doesn't need anything like this. The stunned crew members slid down the sloping deck and cabin into the sea like dumplings. On the top of the mast, Crick's head was still looking into the distance with a furious and terrified expression. Town of Rog. Dylan walked leisurely on the stone road, and after passing here was the upside-down mountain. Of course, he doesn't intend to go upside down, and Marine's unique warship can pass through the calm belt. He's only here to reflect on the past. Hey, a familiar voice came from behind Dylan. Redhead. Shanks stood alone, a bottle of wine in his hand. What a coincidence, I met you here again, are you going to the Great Route? Shanks looked at the tall and straight Dylan. This young Marine put him under a lot of pressure. Although there was no hand-to-hand exchange between the two, Shanks felt an aura in him that he had never had before. He feels different from all Marines. Whether it is Garp's fortitude or Zephyr's determination, they are completely different from him. Even the newly rising guys like Kizaru, Aokiji, and Akainu in Marine are fundamentally different from this seemingly indifferent man in terms of aura. He is more like an abyss, deep and steady, but no one knows what is hidden under the abyss. It's a coincidence. Are you here to nostalgia? You cried a lot when you were here. Dylan glanced at Shanks. He wasn't disgusted by the man, but he didn't really like him either. It's just that it's not a good time to fight him. Then, Shanks froze for a moment, recalling that day more than 10 years ago, his expression fell instantly. Ah, it's true. Were you here back then? Judging by your age, you should be in your teens. Back then. Shanks looked up. Haven't you thought about going to sea? Go to sea. Dylan pressed Shura's knife handle, and gave Shanks a meaningful look. Are you a pirate? Hearing Dylan's bad tone, Shanks smiled and said, being a pirate. A thief is a thief. Dylan coldly interrupted Shanks. It doesn't matter if it's a bandit, a pirate, or a thief. A thief is a thief. A person who blindly pursues his own freedom, and preys on the weak, no matter what he thinks, no matter how much he dreams, he cannot change the fact that he is a thief. Don't talk to me about dreams, freedom, partners, your freedom. The air around Dylan began to twist. It's built on the pain of the weak. A streak of black lightning visible to the naked eye rushed out of Dylan's surroundings. Shanks' pupils shrank, and the same black lightning burst out from his body. When the two auras collided, the dark clouds in the sky swirled. When the aura of the two dissipated, some small cracks appeared on the surrounding walls. This is a town, and I have no plans to fight you for the time being, but, Redhead. Dylan looked at Shanks sharply. Don't cross the line, otherwise, not only will the new era not have your boat, but your dream. I will also kill it with my own hands. After Dylan left, Ben Beckman and others approached from the street. The big meaty legs that Lackey Lou had been holding all year round were gone, and Usopp was holding the spear tightly. What a horrible guy. Usopp glanced at the corner. Are you possessing the qualification of a king, and have cultivated conquerors to such a degree? Marine. Chapter 4 God of Sky Island. Marineford. Dylan, who had officially completed the award, came out of the office area. Ah la la, an amazing newcomer is here. A lazy voice sounded from the side. This tone. Aokiji, Kuzan Vice Admiral. Dylan saluted slightly. Come to the headquarters for the title. Aokiji pushed the blindfold on his forehead, looking at Dylan with interest. Yes. Kuzan suddenly looked left and right, and then said to Dylan, would you like a drink? Quote. Does this guy drink? It seems that Zephyr did drink when he died later. But is it allowed to drink in the headquarters? Following Aokiji into his office, Dylan glanced around. The simple furnishings can even be said to be crude. There are only two things that stand out, one is the reclining chair that is comfortable at first glance, and then it is his exclusive plaque. Lazy Justice. Ah la la, speaking of it, you and I have different personalities. Aokiji picked up 2 bottles of wine and threw one at Dylan. I believe in lazy justice, but you are very diligent. Okay. Dylan took the wine and popped the cork, took a sip, you know me. Aokiji took the same big gulp of the wine, and then he said, what man's wine, it's really bad. After muttering for a while, Aokiji took a formal look at Dylan. I have nominated you to summon you in the past few years, but it seems that you have rejected them all. Why did you agree this time? Has Aokiji nominated to call himself? Dylan frowned, is it the intelligence inside Marine? Or, Garp? Seeing Dylan's puzzled look, Aokiji took the initiative to say, it's Mr. Garp. He said that every time he went back in the past few years, he felt that East Blue was very peaceful, and he didn't even need to clean it too much. It was not easy to find you. You've done a great job at East Blue, how about you, would you like to come to my side? Give you quite a lot of autonomy. Aokiji. Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral, Admiral Alternate. Black Arm. Zephyr's disciple, Garp's little fanboy. The future Marine 3 Admiral, Aokiji, Kazaru, Akainu. Akainu's attitude towards pirates is too rigid. Although his style is similar to his own, there are fundamental differences. Kazaru, an old monkey, is very suspicious in his words and deeds. He is submissive when he hits a straw hat, and punches heavily when he hits Zephyr. Maybe he is a boy of the Revolutionary Army. Although he has the convenience of being close to Vegapunk under his command, he may be sold by him one day. As for Aokiji, this guy is lazy, but he still has a sense of loyalty, otherwise he wouldn't have saved Smoker from Brother Ming. I'll kill people, but you'll take the blame. That's what I said, but you can express it more euphemistically. It's really troublesome. The higher-ups often assign some tasks. I'm a person. Aokiji raised his head and took another sip of wine. So you agreed. Dylan spread his hands. Why don't you agree? If I follow Sakazuki, maybe I have to kill people every day. I still have a lot of things to do. That's it. Aokiji didn't ask Dylan why he didn't mention Pelusolino. But before that, I still have some things to deal with. If it is soon, I can come back in half a year. If it is slow, it may take 1 or 2 years. You are really busy. Do you need my help? Dylan shook his head. No, if you're unlucky, it's possible that you won't come back. You're a capable person, so it's best not to get involved. Ability person. Can't come back. Aokiji rarely showed a sad face. Are you going to some dangerous area related to the sea? Forget it, since I don't need my help, I won't ask. Be careful yourself, and use the phone bug to contact me if you need help. 2 years later. Sky Island. A burst of violent thunder and lightning filled the sky, entangled and churned in the air for nearly an hour before dissipating slowly. Gon 4 looked at the figure slowly coming out of the temple and led everyone to lower their heads slightly. Master Thor. Advertisement. Gon 4. Compared with his appearance 2 years ago, Dylan's appearance at this moment does not seem to have changed at all, but is more refined and profound. Below the temple, the residents of Sky Island looked up at the man who was tall and straight but as deep as an abyss, feeling awe in their hearts. No one knows when he came to Sky Island. When he appeared, he defeated the original god Gon Fuer with absolute power, but he did not kill Gon Fuer and other priests. When he found the golden bell hidden in the clouds and rang it, the people of Sky Island and Sandia who had been hostile for hundreds of years stopped fighting and worshipped him as a god, together. This lord, Thor, is not harsh, and can even be regarded as a benevolent god. All Sky Island affairs are represented by Gon Fall. Gon Foer was originally the god here. At the same time, it is deeply trusted and loved by everyone. I'm going to leave for a while. Sky Island, you will take care of it for the time being. Cut off the route from Shanghai before I come back, and if any intruders contact me with a sound shell or a phone bug. Yes, Lord Thor. When everyone raised their heads, the figure above the temple had disappeared. Gon 4 took a breath and then turned around and said, close the temple and cut off the way from Shanghai. Below Sky Island. Gaia Island, Magic Valley Town. As soon as Dylan walked into a pub, he saw a pink figure facing the bar drinking. Beside him stood a tall man with a big sword hanging from his waist. On the other side, an old man with a strange face was questioning a group of punks. That kind of place is boring. The Don Quixote pirates are the pride of North Blue. We want to be pirates like you. Then have you ever killed someone? Dylan walked up to the pink man and sat down beside the pink man, took a sip of wine and said, a little b*********** d like you also wants to make a living with this flamingo. As soon as the word, flamingo, came out, the face of the tall man standing aside changed. He was questioning the little b**********, and the snotty weirdo also turned around. On the other hand, Flamingo, who was sitting on the side grinned. Fooferfer, who are you? Marine, it's time. Diamante just clasped his hand on the hilt, but Doflamingo stopped him. Stop, Diamante. Tisk, Shichibukai is really troublesome. Looking at Diamante who was stopped by Doflamingo, Dylan looked disappointed. If this guy makes a move, he can justifiably kill him, and even the entire Don Quixote pirates. After casting a sideways glance at Diamante who was stunned aside, he turned his head slightly to look at the yellow-haired gangster who was full of excitement and a little bit of surprise. May I ask you something? Have you ever killed someone? Or did you come here with sticks to play house? Bellamy raised her hands and laughed wildly. Murder. Of course I did. We sailed all the way from North Blue, and what we did most was killing people. We are the ones who want to join the Don Quixote pirates. Ha 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 ha. Very good. As soon as the words fell, the air seemed to freeze. Doflamingo, who was sitting next to Dylan, froze for a moment, then turned his head mechanically. Hey, isn't it? Before the words were finished, a series of dazzling thunderlights emerged from the bodies of the gangsters, and Torrebel, who was standing beside Bellamy, was shocked. Accompanied by the screams of the gangsters, Dylan stood up slowly. Dover. Dylan stood up leisurely and walked in front of Bellamy, as if walking in a garden. From the beginning to the end, Doflamingo didn't say a word, let alone stop him. Bellamy and his party were allowed to howl and convulse amidst the thunder and lightning. Hey, you see, in the face of absolute strength, your idol doesn't dare to move. Bellamy struggled a bit, yelled, and hammered her hands on the floor. Damn it. Give you another chance, have you ever killed someone? If it's bragging, I'll treat you as ordinary punks and let you go. If you really had blood on your hands. Dylan's expression sank, and the surrounding the air shook. Execution on the spot. Bellamy looked up with difficulty at his idol, heavenly Yaksha, Doflamingo. What followed was a suffocating silence. Bellamy glanced at the man standing in front of him, gritted her teeth with the last bit of strength and said, No. Slap. Dylan clapped his hands. That's the way to behave, let's go back and forth from wherever. Oh, right. Dylan who walked to the door turned his head and glanced at Huang Mao, who was sluggish on the ground. You said, you don't like those daydreaming pirates. Tisk. It's a pity that your idol has the largest, wildest dream, you really don't deserve to be on his boat. After saying that, Dylan pushed the door open and left. Squeak, squeak. The wooden door of the tavern swayed in the wind, as if mocking Bellamy's arrogant declaration, and as if defying his idol. Doflamingo stood up with a sullen face and walked towards the door, followed by Torrepal and Diamante. Doflamingo paused when he walked up to Bellamy. He's right, you. Not worthy of my ship. Chapter 5 Little People, Marineford, Aokiji's office. Doflamingo. There's something wrong with that guy's status, and the way he became a Shichibukai is also very unusual. But these are all agreed by Mariajoy. Aokiji spread his hands. I don't want to care too much. Dylan glanced left and right. You've been promoted, Kuzan Admiral. Aokiji scratched his head, and said helplessly, I can't help it, the Grand Line is not peaceful now. Speaking of which, have you finished what you want to do? It's done. Dylan held out his hand. A ball of thunder gathered in his palm. Go and get a fruit. The moment he saw the thunder light, Aokiji put away his lazy expression, thunder fruit. This Logia fruit is at the top of the Devil Fruit illustrated book, and Aokiji recognized it instantly. Yeah, Dylan nodded. This is also my biggest goal of coming to Grand Line. You. Aokiji's body straightened slightly from the backrest, but then collapsed again. You can get it yourself. Ah, Logia, I really envy you. You are envious. You are not also a Logia fruit. Although he thought so, Dylan still prefers the thunder fruit he has been waiting for a long time. After all, Thunderbolt possesses flying ability and extremely high movement speed, and its lethality is also very powerful. In addition, tempering his body with lightning can also continuously strengthen his body, so that he won't be completely suppressed by the sea and sea stone like other ability users. You have nothing else to do when you come back this time. Aokiji slumped on the sofa with some distress. I don't have anyone here to help, and I have a lot of things myself. If you are free, do some tasks for me. You have a fart business, your business is riding a bicycle to tail your lowly. Or basking in the sun on Garp's boat. Okay, but I'm a major, so it's hard to stand up for you, right? A major came forward to kill someone in Admiral's place. How much can't be justified? Military rank. Ah, Aokiji scratched his hair. This is really not easy to deal with, although the Marine internally is based on background and strength, but officers at the general level still have to value actual combat exploits. This is not the case after the Summit War a few years later, when the Marine's top combat power has shrunk and the whole world has specially recruited troops. Yes, Aokiji's eyes lit up, and after rummaging through the drawer, he took out a reward order. You go and kill him, and I'll apply for the rank for you. Dylan took the reward order and took a look. Blood Hook, Rhodes, offering a bounty 550 million Baileys. Okay, is there such a character? Where did this guy come from? Why haven't I heard of it before? Yeah, you're still young, it's normal that you haven't heard of it, you were a little person in a terrible pirate group a long time ago. Scary pirates. Little people. Dylan rubbed his chin and re-examined the photo on the bounty. No matter how you look at it, you are 50 or 60 years old. At such an old age. Couldn't it be the guy from the Rock's ship? Ah la la, it's Locke. Aokiji widened his eyes. you know the Rock's pirates. How old are you? It really is. That being said, he is indeed a small person. Compared to guys like Whitebeard, Golden Lion, Kaido, Linlin. Golden Lion. This guy is still hiding in the sky to study monsters, should we kill him in advance? Normally, these fruit-capable users are locked up instead of killed, which can effectively limit Devil Fruit's ability. If you catch the capable person and kill it, it will be like Mara Mara Fruit. The previous holder was killed by other pirates not long after he died. This situation is obviously not what the Marine and the world government want to see. Words of Lion Fruit. Forget it, let's put it aside for now, and look for it when you have time, and it won't be too late to kill him then. After all, he is only a major now. Well, a mere major. Where is he? Dylan pointed to the brutal-looking man on the reward list, which should have been captured recently. Then Marine should also know his whereabouts. The last tracking was in Alabasta. You can go and have a look. If there is any new news, the headquarters will use the phone bug to notify you. Alabasta, isn't that Crocodile there? The current K-Lock should have challenged Whitebeard and failed to start looking for Pluton. I'm leaving. Dylan rolled up the reward order, put it in his trouser pocket and left. In the office, after the sound of Dylan's footsteps disappeared, Aokiji pulled down the blindfold. How did he know where the devil fruit is? And the rocks? It's really troublesome, forget it. The first half of the Grand Line. Dafu big brother, what is that guy called Rhodes, why haven't I heard of him before? Mom actually thinks so much about him. She also specially asked me to come to the paradise, to pick him up to Wanguo. With two balloon-like things on her shoulders, Charlotte Dafu glanced at her younger brother beside her. Well, it's normal if you don't know, that's an old guy, he used to be one of my mother's boat. Mom on board, Queen Mother Anthem, why haven't I heard of it? Not here. Daifuku looked at the paradise, which was much calmer than the New World. It's a ship from a long time ago. In terms of strength alone, no one is stronger than them. Alabasta, rainy land, advertisement. Unlike other areas in Alabasta, the rainy land, just like its name, is moist and refreshing. In the rain banquet casino, the tall welcome girl's eyes lit up when she looked at the tall and handsome Dylan. In addition to being tall and handsome, this man's suit, saber, and demeanor are obviously rich. Several welcoming girls desperately showed their figures to Dylan, hoping that the man in front of him would choose himself as company. Feeling their fiery eyes, Dylan paused slightly, then looked around. You. Dylan pointed at one of the blondes. The blonde was overjoyed, and when she came to her side, she clamped Dylan's arms between the two clumps on her chest. Guest, what do you want to play? After speaking, he straightened his back, which made Dylan feel a friction on his arm. Woo ha 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 ha. There was a wild laugh from the distant hall, and Dylan frowned. Sure enough, here, on the sea, the one known for its intelligence capabilities is of course the Big Mom Pirates, followed by Morgan's and the CP organization. However, Marine's intelligence is just as powerful and has a wider reach. Not long after Dylan left Marineford, a piece of detailed information about Bloodhook Rhodes was sent to him through the image worm. It includes the guy's hobbies and behavioral characteristics. Gambling is one of them. In the rocks back then, this guy just lost his right hand because of a gamble. I'm overwhelmed. Rhodes, who rarely won a big victory, laughed and threw chips on the table. Seeing this, the others followed suit. I'm small. An equally arrogant voice came from across the table. Dylan held a cigarette in his mouth crookedly, threw out a handful of chips, and when he saw Rhodes looking at him, he breathed out a puff of smoke provocatively. Ha 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 ha. Let's start quickly then. Rhodes licked his lips, let you know that Master Rhodes' luck is always undefeated. 10 minutes later, the people standing behind Rhodes had all disappeared, but the young man opposite him was full of people standing behind him. Hey, are you out of money? It's really boring. When did the rain banquet start entertaining these poor ghosts? Does Dylan gamble? Of course not, but it is easy to control the direction of the dice with a small electric current. Just as Rhodes stood up and was about to leave, there was a burst of cheers behind him. The young man was throwing the chips in front of him all over the place. Come here, these are, all from the uncle who lost his hand. After speaking, the young man laughed. Don't you all thank Uncle Broken Hand? The people around were stunned for a moment, and then burst into laughter. Thank you, Uncle Broken Hand. As soon as Rhodes' body froze, the pitch-black armed color was ready to cover the hook. No way, Rhodes swallowed. I managed to avoid the pursuit of Marine, and I must never be found again in this kind of place. Maybe even a man like the captain was defeated by Garp back then. Although Newgate they look formidable now. But Rhodes knew that once he was really targeted by Marine or world government, there would definitely be no good results. Dylan in the distance sprinkled chips into the air and put a few chips with the highest face value in the palm of the blonde girl. This is to reward you. I hope you won't be here the next time you come. Dylan stood up and stopped the blonde from trying to follow. Guest. The blonde girl looked at the white-haired young man who walked out of the rain banquet gate, and was a little lost for a while. What's the meaning? Generally speaking, if the customer is satisfied with the service of the escort, don't they hope that they can continue to serve her next time? When Dylan walked out of the gate, the blonde's body shook slightly, and she looked at the gate with a complicated expression. What a gentle guest. After finishing speaking, the blonde woman tightly held the chip in her palm, raised her hand and straightened her neckline. Outside Rainland City, Dylan stopped in his tracks. Hey, that iron hook has followed all the way, don't you want to do it? Road came out from behind the hill with a gloomy face. You be asterisk 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 D, why did you deliberately lure me out? Oh, Dylan looked at the vigilant Rhodes in the distance and smiled. Ho. You're quite cautious. Now that you know I'm leading you out, you dare to follow me. Woo ho ho ha ha. Rhodes licked his lips habitually. If it's Sengoku or Garp. No, even if it's guys like Aokiji or Sakazuki here, I ran away early in the morning. But you, quote. The armed color instantly covered the iron hook on his right hand. I've never heard of your name. What a coincidence. The black armed color instantly covered the Shura scabbard. I haven't heard of you in the original version. Dafuku big brother. Not good. On the periphery of Alabasta, a thin young man ran up to Charlotte Dafu holding a small card with his fingertips. That guy's life is stuck burning. He's dying. Chapter 6 Fruit for Sun. What? Daifuku stared at the life card that was slowly burning, his eyes were full of disbelief. This guy, can someone in paradise kill him? Or did he provoke those world government lackeys? The task-oriented Daifuku couldn't tolerate his own failure, so he puffed up his chest and shouted, full speed ahead, mother's task cannot be failed. Yes. Alabasta. Dylan stepped on the unconscious Bloodhook, Rhodes and dialed the phone bug. A pair of blindfolds popped out of the phone bug's tentacles, and the round eyes turned into dead fish eyes. Ah, it's over so soon. Very hard. Okay. By the way, I don't need to send this guy back in person, right? I have to go back to East Blue. Marineford. Aokiji scratched his head. It can be sent to the nearest marine base, but this guy's background is not simple. I heard that Big Mom is looking for him. You know, Big Mom's intelligence network is very powerful. How about? Quote. Is there anyone to take over? If not, I'll cut off his head. Anyway, this guy is not capable. Rhodes, who was lying on the ground pretending to be dead, swallowed a mouthful of saliva, but his body remained motionless. Is this guy really marine? Cutting off people's heads casually. Wait a little bit, if you cut off his head, in case the time comes. So you are worried about this? Dylan froze for a moment. Kuzan is really loyal. But, Shira's red light flashed, and Rhodes' astonished expression was separated before he dissipated. B asterisk 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 D. How dare you? A roar came from a distance, and Charlotte Dafu's lower body was steaming with steam and approached quickly. The life card in his hand has completely disappeared, and he just saw the scene where the young man chopped off the head of Bloodhook, Rhodes with a knife. As Charlotte Dafoe approached, an Aladdin-like genie emerged from his belt. Just use your head to atone for your sins, demon slash. The huge demon brandished a long knife and sent a huge slash towards Dylan. Hey, didn't I tell you to calm down? Do you need me to go over? No, remember to count this guy's merits for me. It should be the third son of the aunt, Charlotte Dafu. Dylan held the phone bug in one hand and raised Shira up in the other. Ding. The moment the huge slash hit the Shira blade, it stopped, and then no matter how much strength Charlotte Dafu and the demon poured into, the slash didn't move any further. Minister Bean of the Wanguo. Ah la la, he's really going to cause trouble. Are you sure you don't need me to go there? What's wrong with me? This is not what you asked me to kill. I'm going to take a month off after killing him. Allah. Dylan hung up the phone before Aokiji could say anything. It's very impolite to disturb others on the phone, hasn't Linlin taught you? You guy. Charlotte Dafu looked at the young man in front of him who had resisted the demon's slash in an understatement, and his heart froze, and he didn't rush to strike again. Dylan smiled at Charlotte's dour look. People from Charlotte's family. What? Linlin told you to follow the guy and go back to have a baby. Doesn't it mean that I killed your stepfather? Charlotte Dafu, who was originally very apprehensive, was furious when she heard Dylan's words. How dare you disrespect your mother? Devil. Countless tiny slashes flew out, surrounding Dylan from all directions. Ridiculous. Dylan snorted, grabbed Shira's saber handle and twisted it in a circle. The crimson sword energy spread like a gust of wind, more violent and finer than Charlotte Dafu's slash. The slashes of the two sides collided violently in the air, raising the surrounding gravel, and the air was filled with thick dust for a while. Got you. Superheated steam. Charlotte Dafu, wrapped in armament Haki, sprang out of the dust. A threatening heat wave emerged from his pitch-black fist, and the demon next to him also held his sword high. Die. Advertisement. Seeing that Dylan didn't dodge, Charlotte Dafford's eyes flashed with joy and anger at the same time. How dare this guy despise himself so much? It's not a long memory. A black arm passed through the smoke and grabbed Charlotte Dafu's fist. Ray punishment. Boom. Accompanied by a huge roar, a thunder light several meters in diameter descended from the sky, enveloping the two of them. Hey, is it true? On the sand dunes in the distance, Crocodile looked at the huge thunder column with a cigar in his mouth. Is there such a guy in Marine? After the thunder light dissipated, Charlotte Dafu, who was covered in blue smoke, panted heavily and supported his body with one hand, and the demon had long since disappeared. Not only powerful swordsmanship and Haki, but also Logia demon fruit power. No. It's not just that, this guy's fruit ability can easily penetrate his own armament Haki, and the fruit ability has been developed to a very powerful level by him. Bolu. Charlotte Dafu, who was grabbed by Dylan with one hand, couldn't break free, so she reached into her arms and took out the phone bug. Dafu, What's going on? Why did Rhodes' life card burn? Did you kill him? The moment the phone bug was connected, his entire face became round, and 2 piles of thick eyelashes appeared on his eyes. I'm sorry, Mom. The mission failed. Rhodes was killed by Marine. Marine? Is there a Marine like that in the Paradise? Yes. Charlotte Dafu raised her head and glanced at Dylan. It's a Marine I've never seen before. I heard him talking to Aokiji. Well, Marine is still as strong as ever. Hey, Marine guy. Do you want a deal? Daifuku turned the phone bug around, towards Dylan. Oh, it's Linlin. What are you going to give in exchange for your son's life? The aunt didn't seem to care that Dylan called her Linlin, but she laughed. Well, funny boy, what do you want? Treasure, famous knife, or devil fruit, or I will marry my favorite daughter to you. Well, if you want fruit, I will go to Sabayati Archipelago to pick up the goods in 2 months, if the value does not match. Dylan glanced at Charlotte Dafu's body. I will take back the price difference. Charlotte Dafu's body shivered while being watched by him. This guy. If you are not satisfied with the fruit at that time, you will definitely cut off a certain part of your body, absolutely. Well, what a greedy brat, but the information network of the Charlotte family is all over the world, and the most indispensable thing is devil fruit. Don't worry, it will be equal in value to my son. I hope so. Dylan let go of Charlotte Dafford. The phone bug went off as well. Dylan turned to look at the flanking dunes after Charlotte Dave staggered away with 2 huge shoulder armors on. What? Want me to invite you? Call. A gust of wind and sand rolled by, and slowly condensed into a human figure in front of Dylan, wearing a black cloak, with a greasy back comb, and an obvious scar in the middle of the face. Crocodile, it's ridiculously weak. UB********************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************** Before the wind and sand gathered together, it slowly dissipated. Shura, glowing black and red, rested on Crocodile's shoulder. You want to die? Dylan looked at him with cold eyes. The you who fought Bullet are completely different from the you who lost to Whitebeard. Cold sweat broke out from Crocodile's forehead. This guy, he was absolutely serious, he would die if he moved himself. A huge sense of oppression hit his face. Although there was no Haki that was released outside, it made his heart palpitate even more. This feeling was even stronger than it was against Whitebeard. What do you need me to do? Dylan put away Shura and looked into the distance, which was the direction of East Blue. I want you to remember one thing, if you get beat by some shit in Shichibukai's place, I'll kill you with my own hands. So, better watch out, you arrogant little lizard. Quote. Crocodile looked gloomy. In paradise. Being defeated. But he dared not speak out to refute. The man in front of him looked at him like an ant, and he could feel that if he really entered the battle, he might be killed in an instant. After throwing Rhodes' head to Crocodile, Dylan's body turned into a dazzling thunder and disappeared in place. Crocodile clenched his fists and looked in the direction Dylan was leaving. If I can master Pluton. Chapter 7 Women Have Courage. East Blue. Koko Yaxi Village. Scary ha 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 ha. Lowly humans should be dominated by murlocs by nature. You were the first one to be punished by Master Arlong, for boring love. Arlong, with his jagged nose, had one arm on his hip, and the other held a gun to the forehead of a human woman. Nokigao. Nami, I love you both. Arlong put a gun against Belle's head, and laughed cruelly. Scared ha 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 ha. Under my rule, all guys without money will die. Understood. Lower races. The eyes of the surrounding villagers showed fear and intolerance. Huh, if you love them, shouldn't you protect them well? On the road in the distance, a figure slowly walked towards the crowd with a long knife in his hand. Belle Mel, who was bleeding from the corner of her mouth, was already waiting for death, but this lazy voice sounded like a heavy hammer hitting her heart. Low. Call out. Before Arlong finished speaking, a white light shone in front of everyone's eyes, and then a huge arm flew up. Damn it. Damn it. A large amount of blood gushed out from the severed arm. Before the surrounding murlocs and villagers could react, Dylan kicked Arlong to the ground and pressed Shura against his chest. A higher race. Huh. A salmon murloc holding a wine bottle saw that Arlong was knocked down in an instant, and hurriedly shouted, Hey. You be ********D, our eldest brother is the 7th king. Hearing this voice, Arlong's pupils shrank. Don't mention his name, let's not rely on the reputation of that traitor. Jinbe. That dead blue fat man, I heard that he never kept alive humans a few years ago. When I find him, I will call him to make fish head soup. You. Arlong spat out a mouthful of blood, and there was no sign of giving in his expression. Scared ha ha ha, damn low race, you think this will make the great murlocs succumb? Cannot. The corner of Dylan's mouth raised, energy poured in from the handle of the knife, a ripple visible to the naked eye swayed, and the huge impact pressed Arlong's body directly into the ground. The dragon pirates attacked human villages and towns, killed civilians, and executed all of them. Everyone felt a blur in front of their eyes, and a black shadow that was difficult to recognize with the naked eye shuttled around, and at the same time, there was a slight cutting sound in the air. When the surrounding sounds dissipated, except for Arlong and an octopus who were driven into the ground by Dylan, all the members of the original dragon pirates fell to the ground in pieces. All of a sudden, the soaring bloody smell accompanied by the murloc's unique stench filled the surrounding air. Hey, that octopus monster, the name of Jinbe can't save you, why don't you try to lift Rayleigh out to save your life? The octopus murloc's mouth was like a trumpet and he couldn't speak in surprise. You. Seeing the frightened octopus, Dylan turned around and ignored him, and returned to Arlong with the bloody Shura. What should I do? Hire race, or you also use money to buy your life? How much is the life of your octopus worth? 5 or 10, huh? UB asterisk 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 D. Despicable human. Murlocs will not give in. Slap. Dylan clapped Shura up next to Arlong's neck. It's an admirable courage, but it's a pity. Dylan grabbed the hilt of Shura's knife with his backhand. A black and red sword glow rose from the ground. Except for the head, Arlong's body disappeared without a trace in an instant. Lousy, don't eat this set. Xiaoba octopus standing not far away was trembling with fright from the soaring sharp edge, and other humans also showed shocked expressions. Hey, octopus monster. Dylan raised his foot and kicked Arlong's head towards Ba. Seeing the ferocious head flying over, Octopus subconsciously wanted to avoid it, but his body froze in Dylan's eyes, and then he stretched out his hand to catch Arlong's still angry head. Go back to the Fishman Island, tell Fatty Blue, and the bastards from Murloc Street. Advertisement. Sura returns to the sheath, with all the sharpness. If you let Lousy meet even one so-called higher race in the ocean, Lousy will level up your Murloc Street. After the crowd cleaned up the corpses of the dragon pirates, everyone else left one after another. Only Aokiji, Belle and Mel's mother and daughter stayed where they were and looked at the young man sitting on the stone. Are you, Marine? Aokiji swallowed, looking at the tall young man in white. Although he didn't attack humans, the aura he exuded just now almost made them faint. Ah, yes, it's Marine. Dylan raised his legs and placed Shura diagonally under the orange tree next to him. Then, may I ask who you are? Get someone, Dylan said, looking up at the pink-haired Belmel. Belmel noticed that he was looking at him, and looked at Dylan with some surprise. You came to find me. Well, Dylan leaned against the orange tree, and lightly clasped Shura's scabbard. I personally invite you to join my team sequence and return to Marine. Belle, who has been retired for nearly 10 years, is a little embarrassed. She has been away from the battlefield for too long, and Nami and Nuo Chigao are still young. I'm Marine, not a pirate. I won't force you, and I won't coerce you with kindness. After all, it's Marine's duty to protect civilians, isn't it? Belle hesitated for a moment, looked at the daughters beside her who were still in shock, and after hesitating for a moment, said, then I join in. There was a loud shout from the side. You must join. Mel, I know, this is your dream. Nami and Nuo Chigao will have me, and people in the village will take care of them. Jian, the village guard, said loudly, follow your dreams to your heart's content. Mel, when you become stronger, remember to protect the village well. Nuo Chigao, who was older, also reacted, and even though he was tearful, he still tugged at the corner of Nami's clothes, and they walked up to Belle Mel and hugged her together. Aunt May, thank you for raising us up. Remember to come back to see us often when you return to Marine. Nami also raised her small face and looked at Belle. Is it okay to take Aunt May's warship to draw a nautical chart when I grow up? Really? Belmel squatted down and hugged the two thin daughters tightly, then turned to look at Aegean. Isn't it a man's business to protect the village? It's not like you, Mel, didn't you say that women should be full of courage? Aegean laughed, with a look of relief on his face. Hey, I said, I'm going to be a Marine, not to be imprisoned in Impel Down. Don't make the atmosphere so sad, I can come back often. Dylan next to him couldn't stand it, and interrupted them as if they were parting from each other. Belle laughed through his tears. It's true, you are such a powerful man, as your subordinate, I'm afraid it would be difficult for me to die. Belle patted the backs of the two little sisters to signal them to let go, then stood up. Then, can I ask, why did you choose me? Why? Dylan smacked his lips and smiled at Belle Mel. Pirates need companions, and of course Marines do too. As for why it is you, because of your courage, I believe this is the most incomparable potential. Bolu Bolu, Bolu Bolu. Hi, I'm Dylan. Have you reached East Blue yet? Rhodes' head has been sent back to the headquarters for verification, and the headquarters has re-evaluated your achievements in East Blue. Congratulations, Dylan Rear Admiral. Rear Admiral, so, have you been rejected? It's really troublesome. By the way, didn't the phone bug say that you met someone from the Charlotte family? How is it? Belle next to me heard Aokiji's nonchalant tone and his heart was already in turmoil. The phone bug, it was Admiral of Headquarters Aokiji. Can this man communicate directly with Admiral? I chopped it off, but let it go. Let go. Dylan stood up and carried Shura on his shoulders. Let go, now is not a good time to go to war with the New World pirates, so I made a deal with Linlin, and she bought her son. Quote. There was silence on the phone bug, and Aokiji's voice sounded again after a long time. You don't need to tell me about this kind of thing. Dylan laughed. Are you going to report me to Sengoku? If I really go back with Daifuku's head, Sengoku will go crazy. You really know Sengoku-san, forget it, just let it go, but won't the Charlotte family leak the news? Don't worry, if the news leaks out, I will be expelled from Marine at most, but the Charlotte family will lose face in front of other big pirates, they won't speak out, and that Crocodile is not a fool, he dare not speak out. It's good that you understand. By the way, now you are Rear Admiral, come back as soon as you finish dealing with East Blue's matter, and replace me. Boo. Marineford. Aokiji was lost in thought as he looked at the phone bug with his eyes closed. Is he Admiral or am I Admiral? Chapter 8 Haki Training. Haki. It's just a name for power. In addition to being awakened by nature, it can also be obtained and strengthened through cultivation. 30-year-old Belmel was smoking a cigarette and staring at Dylan's right hand, which was covered by the jet black armament Haki. Haki is divided into 3 types: armed color, knowledge color, and conquerors. Armed color is the most common and practical. Knowledge color can be cultivated, but it requires a certain talent. As for conquerors, Dylan spread his hands. Only a few people have it. The use of armed colors is also divided into many types. The first thing you need to master is hardening. Dylan grabbed a large rock and threw it into the air, then stretched out his arms. The rock whizzed down and landed on Dylan's arm. Snap. Not only the arms, even the muscles on the arms did not tremble at all. Belle's eyes widened. This is the most basic use, armor color hardening. Of course, basic use does not mean that it is the weakest. It is still very powerful after cultivation to ultimate. As long as the initial hardening can be achieved, ordinary guns and swords can be ignored. Moreover, armor color hardening can be immune to a lot of devil fruit's damage, and at the same time, it can also cause very intuitive restraint to devil fruit. Belmel is eager to try. Really, it's really good, devil fruit. I heard that it comes from the power of the devil, and it can be restrained. This is the gap between 4 seas and Grand Line. As the weakest sea, East Blue not only has no people who know how to Haki, but even demon fruit power is very rare. The few people with fruit power are from the Grand Line. In 4 seas and Paradise, demon fruit power is very common. When it comes to New World, in the second half of the Grand Line, all minions and miscellaneous fish will be armed and hardened. All the guys with a little head and face can play with fire. All in all, Mara fruit, dogs do not eat. It is precisely because of the disparity in regional strength that even those who were defeated from the Grand Line can still dominate the world when they return to the 4 seas. Such as Crick, Arlong these things. Oh, Dylan, who was distracted, sensed the changes in the atmosphere around him, and looked at Belmel intently. Really have this kind of power. Belmel, who saw his hands covered in black, was taken aback, and then laughed heartily. It seems that I am indeed very talented. Of course, your talent is definitely not bad. Another most important reason is that this power has always existed in your body, but due to the limitation of the cognitive threshold, you didn't know its existence, so you didn't go to it. Discover it, master it and use it. Watching Bell waving his fists, Dylan thought for a while and said, in future battles, we should try our best not to use firearms. Although both pirates and marines have the position of sniper, it requires a very unique talent. And powerful observation Haki support. Of course, Belmel retreated the Haki cover on his arm. With this kind of power, ordinary firearms can indeed be given up. Next, you need to think carefully about what fighting style you want or are suitable for. Melee combat, swordsmanship, or do you have the confidence to control the power of devil fruit? Belmel had heard about this to some extent, but then shook his head. It is rumored that after eating devil fruit, you will turn into a landlubber. As for swordsmanship, I'm afraid I don't have that kind of talent. So I still hope to be able to fight with my fists. Okay, then you settle down the children, and then prepare to follow me to the headquarters to receive systematic training. Naval Headquarters has special explanations and training methods for the use of 6 styles and Haki, which will be more systematic and professional than Dylan's own teaching. The top players have already emerged except for Blackbeard, Teach, and the red-haired guy will officially become a member of the Emperor of the Sea in a few years. Although Marine has overwhelming strength when facing a certain force alone, but if facing 2 or more forces at the same time, Marine will fall into a passive or even disadvantaged position. Moreover, their marine responsibilities also restricted them, unable to attack in a large area, and more often they could only passively defend. Admiral is indeed too restrictive, no wonder the old man Garp is unwilling to be promoted all his life. Before coming here, Dylan's understanding of this world was also very limited. After all, God's perspective followed the Straw Hat crew most of the time. When he was a teenager, he used to like the optimistic and fearless boy very much, but when he was young, Dylan gradually became a little tired and began to have some doubts about the protagonist. I hope that day will not come. Dylan took a deep drag on a cigarette from Bellmayer's cigarette case. After all, he was also someone I liked very much when I was a teenager, but I was a little annoyed by yelling, One Piece, and One Piece, all day long. Advertisement. Happy boy, pin your hopes on these illusory legends. Obviously everyone in this world has the opportunity to obtain almost godlike power, but why should they pray for the charity of fate? I really don't understand. Ah, sir, you seem to have a lot on your mind. Bell stood not far away with his hands in his trouser pockets. Arranged. Dylan didn't explain, just stood up and looked behind her. The village policeman Jien and sister Nami looked at him with some fear. Although this man looked very handsome and lazy, the coldness and determination when he executed Arlong's group just now were not something ordinary people could bear. Dylan beckoned to Nami for her to come to him. Nami grabbed Nuo Chigao's clothes nervously, her body was slightly stiff. Go Nami, Mr. Marine is a good man, he protects us all, isn't he? The older Nuo Chigao encouraged Nami, and Bell and Aegean next to her also looked at her with encouraging eyes. Nami pursed his lips tightly, then walked up to Dylan, and said restrainedly, Mr. Marine. I heard that you want to draw the most complete and detailed map in the world. Everyone else thought it was Belmel who told Dylan, only Belmel was puzzled in his eyes. He didn't say anything about the children's condition, how did this man know about it? Speaking of his dream, Nami's eyes lit up, and he took out a half-finished map from behind and handed it to Dylan. Dylan took a look. He is indeed very talented. Although he does not have the professional and detailed maps inside Marine, it is already very rare for self-study. After carefully folding the map and returning it to Nami, Dylan said to the village policeman Ajien, I will ask the headquarters to prepare some professional books for her to study. The sisters will leave it to you for the time being. East Blue will not be too powerful. The guys appear, if you encounter dangerous people invading. Dylan took out his spare phone bug and put it in Nami's hand. This is my phone bug. It can directly dial my number. In case of fatal danger, I can be there within 2 hours. Mr. Marine, can I draw a map of the whole world on a warship in the future? Of course. Dylan stroked Nami's head. Not only can we will also make the address you drew into an atlas and print your name on it, so that the whole world can share your joy. Nami grinned, and took out an orange from his trouser pocket. Brother Marine, this is what I treat you to eat. I'm in Kokoyasi Village, East Blue, yes, send a warship to pick me up. Ah, can't you fly? Are you going to take it? Quote. Aokiji stared at the phone bug, suspicious again. Also, prepare some drawing-related books and bring them with you. The more and more detailed the better. No, also, Kokoyasi Village has been designated as a protected area. In addition, Captain Mouse, the head of the branch base here, is very problematic. You can ask the supervision department to verify it. It is good. Boo. Quote. Quote question mark. Marineford, Aokiji was puzzled looking at the phone bug with his eyes closed. Sengoku-san wouldn't hang up his phone like this, would he? Forget it, what a hassle. After ordering Dylan's request, Aokiji pulled down the blindfold again. Nico Robin has already entered the Grand Line. Do you want to go and see for yourself? What kind of life will she have? Chapter 9 The Great Injustice Smoker. Marineford. Dylan, who completed his title under the leadership of Aokiji, finally has a cape and an independent office. Bell-Mel's file was also called up in the Marine Department, and the re-enlistment procedures were successfully completed under the promotion of Aokiji. And was re-awarded the rank of Major. What is this? Can this be considered Marine justice? B******************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************** roar in the huge hallway, and Aokiji rubbed his forehead in distress. Ah, it's really. Boom. There was a slamming door, and a man with short white hair and a cigar in his mouth came out of the office angrily like a ruffian. Smoker, are you arguing with the inspectors again? Don't you think about why you are still a major? Because he is too weak. Dylan looked at the guy in front of them who was walking toward them with unrecognizable steps. One Piece's number one wrong species, the shame of Logia fruit, Smoker. A rank thing. Smoker nonchalantly puffed out a big puff of smoke. Walking up to the two, Smoker looked at Dylan who had put on the rear admiral cape. Are you the guy Kuzan has been thinking about? You look very thin. Ah, this guy. Aokiji glanced at Smoker with some headaches, and said to Dylan, it's my friend, so be gentle. B*********** D Kuzan. Who are you looking down on? Smoker was furious. Although he is currently only a major, but as a Logia-capable user, he has also made great achievements. However, he was stuck in the rank of major for several years because he was too willful and reckless. After all, Mad Dog Marine didn't bark for nothing. But Dylan didn't give Smoker time to react, and a dark arm grabbed Smoker's neckline before he could finish his sentence. Bye. Huh, ability is not everything. Dylan held Smoker against the wall. The powerful armament Haki completely overwhelms Smoker's elementalization. UB***************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************** Kuzan had told him that this guy was also a Logia user. Although Haki can grab himself, as long as the sea stone touches him, he can instantly imprison him. 10 hands screamed and slammed down on Dylan, and Aokiji next to him narrowed his eyes slightly. Sea stone. How to solve it? Dylan pressed Smoker with his left hand, tightened his right hand, and the jet black armed color instantly covered it. Sea stone is not a panacea either. The black right hand went up to the 10 hands inlaid with sea stone without fear. What? Seeing that the top of the 10 hands was grabbed by Dylan, Smoker's anger disappeared, leaving only a face full of shock. He has tried touching himself with sea stone, which can basically make him lose his strength in an instant, and his ability will also be imprisoned. Click. There was a crackling sound from the top of the 10 hands. Smoker's astonishment turned into horror, and Aokiji's eyes narrowed slightly. Hey, is it true or not? Snapped. Dylan turned the palm of 10 hands, and the part inlaid with sea stone was abruptly broken off by him. Then Smoker and Aokiji saw Dylan's palm clenched, and small pieces of metal powder fell from his palm. Sea stone, it's really hard. Dylan put down Smoker, who was completely sluggish, studied the small sea stone in his hand, and then threw it at Smoker. Give it back to you, go and rebuild a weapon. A rookie. What an amazing skill. PFF'd ha ha ha. If Kuzan hadn't been recruited all day, I would have kept him in East Blue. It would have saved me a lot of worry. At the end of the corridor, Sengoku, Garp, Akainu, and Kizaru walked towards the three of them side by side. Very powerful. Have you considered my subordinates? I have learned about your past. Your style is very similar to the old man. You shouldn't be under the subordinates of a lazy guy like Kuzan. Akainu looked at Dylan. Advertisement. Dylan's attitude towards pirates makes him appreciate it very much, and this guy Kuzan, huh? Ah, Sakazuki, are you just robbing people openly like this? PFF ha ha ha. Garp laughed while stuffing a donut into his mouth. Forget it, Sakazuki, this kid is different from you. Sengoku shot Garp a puzzled look. This guy has basically stayed away from the headquarters for the past few years, and rarely asks about the affairs of the headquarters. Why did he directly dismiss the opinion of Sakazuki, who was Admiral this time? Huh. Hearing Garp's words, Akainu didn't bother, and after a cold snort, he passed through the crowd and left first. Oh, it's so powerful and scary, the young people of today. Kizaru looked at Dylan with his mouth crooked, but he didn't say much, greeted Kuzan and left. As for the big injustice Smoker, Major, Akainu and Kizaru ignored him. It's not that they don't know each other, but Smoker doesn't have a good reputation in Marine, and his military rank and strength are not enough for the two admirals to pay attention to. This severely wounded Marine Mad Dog's ego. Am I really weak? A light flashed under Sengoku's lens. Although Smoker's strength is not good, as a Logia fruit-capable person, he still has potential. You can't let him give up easily. Smoker, you are also a student of Zephyr. You should know that there are many ways to fight. In this sea, almost no one can simultaneously develop physical skills, sword skills, Haki and fruits to ultimate. So you have to choose what you are best at. PFF ha ha ha. There are still some. Newgate and Linlin, aren't they just like that? Garp laughed and interrupted Sengoku, and then turned to look at Smoker, but what Sengoku said is also true. If you want to become strong, you need to recognize yourself first and find your own path. After all abilities are outstanding. Monsters have been rare in the sea since ancient times. Garp glanced at Dylan's Shura on his waist, and thought silently, maybe there will be another one now. After hearing what Garp and Sengoku said, Smoker fell silent. Although the Logia fruit is powerful, his development level is really poor. In terms of physical skills, because of the fruit's ability, he has hardly practiced Marine 6 styles, and his sword skills are 0. As for Haki, so far, he hasn't even mastered the armed color coverage, and still relies on the seastone inlaid on the top of the 10 hands to fight against the ability users. I see, Mr. Garp, Marshal. I'll think hard about my path. Facing Garp and Sengoku, even someone as arrogant as Smoker, humbly bowed his head and accepted their opinions. Sengoku turned to stare at Dylan. What about you? Dylan didn't understand what Sengoku meant. To be honest, after you accepted Aokiji's call to the headquarters and obtained the Thunder Fruit, the headquarters conducted 2 rounds of investigations on you. It is confirmed that you were born in a merchant family in West Blue. Later, your family's merchant ship was attacked by pirates, and you were exiled to East Blue. You have done a good job in East Blue these years, and you have maintained Garp's style. Let East Blue still continues the title of the weakest sea. Dylan smiled, but didn't answer. East Blue is not as weak as he imagined. During his more than 10 years of cleansing, he still met many guys with potential. And he can't guarantee that he can completely clean up East Blue. After all, the sea area is so big that it only depends on the branch's warships. It's hard to do everything. Things like Crick are about to become kings. Your strength is strong enough. Although you are currently affiliated with Kuzan, you can choose to become the Rear Admiral directly under the headquarters, or we send you to be the head of the branch base. The base of the Grand Line is not from all over the world. Sengoku-san, this is not fair to me. Kuzan, you guy, I know you have doubts in your heart. You still have doubts about Marine and the government's actions, but I do need to make some sacrifices sometimes for the peace of most people. Aokiji scratched his head and looked at Garp. That's it. I'm willing to accept the post of base commander, but I need to choose the position myself, and I'm still under Kuzan's command. I will take on the mission in his place, but... Dylan continued looking at Sengoku, whose expression was getting serious. I need you to agree with Aokiji's commitment to me that I still need enough autonomy. What do you mean by autonomy? Sengoku frowned slightly. He has also heard about this young man's style, and his attitude towards pirates is almost the same as that of Sakazuki. If this guy is placed in New World. No, even in the first half of the Grand Line, this guy will definitely cause an uproar among the pirates, and even cause a war. That's what you think, Mr. Sengoku. Dylan chuckled. But you don't have to worry too much. I'm not crazy. Even if I want to go to war, I will wait for a good time. The timing. Sengoku looked at Dylan with a meaningful smile. So, where is the place you chose? G5. Chapter 10 Shiryu. New World. Front End. Marine G5 Base. A group of ferocious-looking Marines gathered together to discuss without any scruples. Has the headquarters sent a new base chief? What kind of guy is he? Most of them didn't wear Marines' white military uniforms, but simply displayed the words 5 or G5 on a certain part of the body or clothing. Whatever it is, if it's a limp guy, we don't have to pay attention to him. After all, this is New World. Limp guy, let's go to the world. What if it's a very powerful guy? A voice that was completely different from their wild tone sounded from the side. The person who spoke just now subconsciously Kaido, if it's strong enough. Enemy attack. A few sharper Marines reacted, supported their bodies with their weapons, and quickly stood up. At the gate of the base, a tall and straight figure appeared in their sight. Hey, you B************D, this is the Marine G5 base, what are you doing? The figure was completely unmoved. Sengoku and Garp said that G5 has a special position, so the style of this base is very similar to mine, but countless black thunders gushed out from Dylan's body, and the powerful vigor shook the marine in the base for a while. As far as your strength is concerned, I don't really agree with you. Trash, now, get out of here and line up on the playground. Those who don't show up within a minute can get out. You are the newly appointed base chief, Dylan Rear Admiral appointed by the Marshal. Dylan stood at the gate of the base, raised his eyelids and looked at the person who asked the question. What's the problem? You still have 50 seconds. After the others looked at each other in blank dismay, they rushed out in a swarm. Time up. On the playground, G5's Marines have already lined up, but the formation is really unbearable to look at. There was also a buzzing discussion sound in the crooked team. Dylan walked from the gate towards the playground, and the Marines in G5 fell silent for an instant. In the perennial battles in New World, their vision and insight are far beyond those of the guys from the world or the paradise. This man, the newly appointed head of the base, owns a conqueror's Haki. This is the qualification of a king. It's just, what kind of king is this man going to be? Marine King. Dylan walked down the steps slowly, looking at Marine like a pirate with a blank expression. I didn't care what you did before, but from now on, my rules are the rules. Those who have objections, either hold back or get out. I'm done. Do you have any objections? The powerful momentum opened up, and the Marines in the arena subconsciously straightened their bodies. GU. Many Marines swallowed, but no one raised any doubts. The G5 Marine branch, both in appearance and style, is very similar to pirates. Although they believe in justice, they disdain the style of the headquarters and other branches. Their methods are extremely cruel to pirates. They also believe in the strong more. Since there is none, the first task is to fix the construction and sanitation for me. Dylan threw down a blueprint. You have 2 months to complete the task. After speaking, Dylan's body flashed and disappeared in place. Everyone in G5 was silent for a while watching Dylan disappear, and then burst into applause. Oh, here comes a powerful guy, now our life will be better. In the sky, Dylan froze for a moment when he heard their voices, and then turned into a stream of light and flew out into the distance. Marineford flank, Impel Down. Advertisement. Dylan Rear Admiral, which is very popular recently. Magellan looked at Dylan in the reception room. What's the point of coming to Impel Down? Come for someone. Dylan didn't sit down, but stood in the middle of the living room. Seeing Dylan's attitude, Magellan didn't ask any more questions. Marine would often formulate some targeted combat plans, using prisoners as bait, or deciding to execute the prisoners. So, what about the procedures, Dylan Rear Admiral? Most of the prisoners in Impel Down are capable people. Although you are a newly promoted Rear Admiral, I believe you also know the rules. Dylan stretched out his finger and shook it. I'm not here to ask for a prisoner. A prisoner is useless to me. I'm here for another person. Another person. Magellan looked directly at Dylan, thinking of the rumors about Dylan, as if he understood something. I see, is it to transfer Shiryu? However, this also requires procedures. After I have met him, the transfer order will be delivered by Sengoku if it satisfies me. Magellan's ferocious face showed seriousness. In that case. Magellan pressed the intercom in the room. Notify Shiryu to the top floor. After turning off the intercom, Magellan's huge body looked at Dylan, and after pondering for a while, Magellan spoke. Shiryu is too bloodthirsty, and once he starts killing, he is indiscriminate. I hope you can control him better instead of being influenced by him. Quote. Dylan responded with a chuckle. So your tolerance for him should have reached its limit. If I don't come, you should be ready to do something to him, right? Later, Shiryu was indeed taken into custody after being defeated by Magellan, and sentenced to death. During the waiting time, neither of them spoke again, and Magellan looked serious. Dylan was recalling the information about Shiryu in his mind. No one uses it. The truly powerful guys in Marine are basically Admiral or the Chief Staff Officer, those so-called Vice Admiral. Tisk. The name is good looking, but the actual combat effectiveness is extremely unstable, and they basically belong to Kizaru or Kainu. Kuzan, a salted fish, the only one who can command under his command is the big injustice species Smoker, who is still a rookie. If you want to end the era of great pirates, you must gather all available power. Magellan, are you looking for me? The 3-meter-tall Shiryu appeared in the living room on the top floor with a cigar in his mouth. It's not me looking for you, it's this man, the base chief of the G5 branch, the new Marine Rear Admiral Dylan. Magellan looked at Dylan, then at Shiryu, and fell silent. He also didn't quite agree with the rumors about Dylan. Oh, is it rumored that there is a newly promoted Rear Admiral who is not inferior to Admiral? Shiryu exhaled a puff of smoke and looked at Dylan. What do you want me for? Dylan slowly pulled Shura out, Magellan's pupils shrank, and Shiryu at the door smiled. After I verify your strength, we will talk about other things. Shura unsheathed, and the moment the black-red blade was exposed to the air, the huge living room seemed to be drained of air. Shiryu frowned. This breath. It's not just a beast, it's an evil ghost. Interesting. If you are killed, it will be Magellan who judged you in advance, Dylan said with a flick of the blade. Shiryu didn't give in at all, but said excitedly, if I kill you, I will have to defect, but, this is really exciting. Ding. 2 black figures flashed in the living room, and Rayleigh and Shura were close together. What a terrifying power, and the strength of this Haki. Shiryu twirled the cigar in his mouth, eyes glowing red. If it's only to this extent, Shiryu, I'm not satisfied. Dylan raised his arm, and the Black Conqueror's Haki wrapped around Shira's handle. Of course not, I haven't been this excited for a long time. Shiryu's arm also tightened, and the dark red aura climbed along his arm towards Lei Yu's knife. Rain Che. This is what it looks like. Shiryu. The Black Conqueror's Haki exploded instantly, and the blades that were originally bonded together gradually separated. In Shiryu's astonished eyes, after trembling for a while, the thunderstorm finally couldn't hold back, and bounced back. Shiryu's body also flew backwards with the force transmitted from the sword. After retreating several meters, Shiryu stabilized his body. What kind of power is this? Can conquerors be entangled? Shiryu's eyes were shining red. This world is really wonderful. Come with me, Shiryu, to New World, there are plenty of people to kill for you. The thunderstorm returned to its sheath, and the red light in Shiryu's eyes gradually dissipated. As you wish, sir. Chapter 11 Water City. Dylan Rear Admiral, the formalities still need to be done. Although Magellan doesn't like Shiryu, he can't let him go without evidence. Oh, got it. Dylan pulled out the phone bug. Marshal, I'm Dylan. Sengoku's voice came from the phone bug in the form of glasses. What's wrong? You can't call so soon, right? In the marshal's heart, am I such a guy? Dylan teased a bit and then directly said the subject. I need to transfer Shiryu, the warden of Impel Down, to the G5 base, and I have already communicated with him and Director Magellan. Quote. Shiryu. Dylan, Shiryu is not an ordinary swordsman, I hope you can suppress him and not let him be controlled by the desire to kill. Sengoku bluntly pointed out the problem and didn't care if Shiryu himself was around. Of course, Marshal, unless he is stronger than me one day. Otherwise, he will always be the blade of Marine. Mark your words, Dylan. As the phone bug went off, Dylan looked up at Magellan, nodded silently to Fang Mo, and then looked at Shiryu who was much taller than him. You have a chance to challenge me once a year. If you win, I will set you free. You can even take my life. If you lose, you must obey all my orders unconditionally for the next year. Is there a problem? It's really direct. Huh, Shiryu spit out a puff of smoke. But, I accept. Following a strong man like you, my knife will not be lonely. Walking outside the gate of Impel Down, Dylan glanced at the sky and said to Shiryu, you go to the G5 base for the time being, and I have to go out for a while. To understanding. Dylan glanced back at the bottomless prison Impel Down and then disappeared into a thunderbolt. Shiryu grinned at Magellan and boarded the leaving warship. Looking at the two people leaving, Magellan frowned. Marineford. School grounds. Drink. What? Belmel is sparring with a middle-aged Marine, and both sides have covered armed color bullies. Dylan sat on the bench outside the court, watching them play and defend. You've been in East Blue for so many years, why are you only thinking about training her now? To be honest, after adolescence, no matter how much you train, her achievements may be limited. Aokiji walked over to Dylan with a recliner under his arm. Dylan looked at Aokiji who was already slumped on the recliner, and couldn't help complaining in his heart. Sure enough, except for Akainu, everyone in Marine fished monsters. Not necessarily. After all, the most indispensable thing in this sea is miracles, isn't it? A miracle, Aokiji muttered for a while and didn't refute Dylan, and pulled down the blindfold to block the sun. By the way, there's a case over there in Water City. You go and look at it on my behalf, so there won't be any trouble. Water City. Dylan frowned and thought for a moment. Tom's trial. Ah, you know all of this. I'm going out for a while, and I'll leave the affairs of the Water City to you. Aokiji has become lazy and decadent since the Ohara incident. In the early years, he believed in hot-blooded justice, but after witnessing Akainu attacking Marine and civilians for his mission, he doubted Marine's justice. Don't care about many things anymore. Except for his little loli. Okay, I also want to meet the guy who built Roger's boat, but Kuzan, if I encounter something that goes against justice, how should I deal with it? Dylan stared at Belmel who was fighting on the field and asked casually. Aokiji's originally limp body froze. Is it contrary to justice? This question has troubled me for many years, why don't you give me the answer? Understood. Dylan stood up and shook the cape around him. In the school field, Belmel saw Dylan get up, stopped the sparring, his figure turned into a phantom and came to Dylan. The shaved is well mastered. Dylan looked at Belmel, who looked like a bad girl. The coverage of armed colors has also improved. You still have 2 months, and you will report to the G5 base in 2 months. Yes, sir. Bell saluted very seriously at first, and then said with a smile. It's really serious, Dylan Rear Admiral, but when will the salary be paid? I almost have no money to smoke. Quote. Dylan turned his head and looked at Aokiji on the recliner. Hey. Kuzan. We are all your subordinates. It should be fine to pay a little salary in advance, right? Ah. You don't have any money. I know it. Although you distributed most of the spoils of killing pirates to the poor in East Blue, the rest is absolutely astronomical, right? Dylan spread his hands. That's right, but it's not on me, and I have to send someone back to pick it up after G5 is built. So you be ************* D, are you going to pay your lovely subordinates? Advertisement. Looking at Belmel Aokiji who was full of expectation, he didn't react for a while. It's not like that, it's just. Go to internal affairs and get 100,000 Baileys, Dylan said to Belmel. Tell them that Kuzan Admiral advanced your salary. Yes. Bell's figure appeared in the distance in a flash, 3 points faster than before. Hey, Aokiji scratched his head. That's it. Forget it, I don't have too many people here anyway. Do whatever you want. After saying that, Aokiji lay down again. A smile rose from the corner of Dylan's mouth. Then I'm going, Kuzan, if I encounter any troubles on the way to pursue justice, you can help me share some of it. Got it. Aokiji waved his hand towards the air, seeming very impatient. After Dylan's breath disappeared, Aokiji started talking to himself. Is there a different justice? What will it be like? Water capital. The famous shipbuilding Holy Land, in addition to the Pluton, one of the third-generation ancient weapons, has also built the Golden Jackson of the One Piece King Gall D. Roger and the Thousand Sons of the later King Luffy. In the sky, Dylan looked down at the sea train, whizzing past the sea and couldn't help but praise. Remarkable invention. On the sea not far away, a judicial ship was parked on the sea. One with purple hair. The ugly, odd-looking guy was holding a phone bug in his hand. Contemporary CP-5 Captain, Spandam. Pluton. Yes, it is the lost ancient weapon. The blueprint should still be in the hands of the people in the water capital, most likely Tom. After all, he built the Golden Jackson for Roger. After this task is completed, you can advance to CP0 in advance. Circa. CP0. Spandam was shaking with excitement, holding the phone bug. That's CP0. Damn it, that old man, his crime will be cancelled in 3 days. Damn it, you must not miss such an opportunity. Dylan was suspended in midair, watching Spandam's every move. The unique practice method from Sky Island, Observation Haki's hard network, allows him to perceive the opponent's every move and even the inner thoughts without hindrance when facing creatures weaker than him. His agreement with the world government cannot be broken, but he must not be allowed to return to his free status just like that. Spandam rolled his eyes, thinking of the 2 children beside Tom. Hey, since the crime of building the Golden Jackson is going to be set off, then I will add another crime to you. Dylan looked at Spandam in the cabin with a smirk on his face, took out the phone bug from his arms, and passed the recording to Aokiji. After receiving the recording, the phone bug fell silent, and then shut down without a sound. Still running away, Kuzan. The Ohara Buster call was initiated by Spandam's father, Spandane, and it has something to do with Aokiji. Dylan put the phone bug back into his arms, and he slowly rose towards the high clouds. Spandam, you can also be regarded as one of the few top sluts in this world. Dylan's eyes narrowed slightly, then snapped open. Countless thunder lights emerged from around his body, and the already cloudy weather instantly became more oppressive. Spandam pushed open the hatch and looked at the thunderclouds billowing overhead. Is there such a weather in paradise? Sir, the situation is not right. A CP-5 member walked to the door of the cabin. It is not an ordinary weather change. What's the meaning? Spandam looked around for a while. What is an unusual weather change? Maybe some kind of creature is manipulating the weather. I think we should leave this sea area as soon as possible. Leave, Spandam screamed. Leave. A voice appeared on the deck. Where are you going? Chapter 12 The Boatman. Dylan stood on tiptoe, looking at Spandam with purple curly hair. I get upset whenever I see your ugly face. Marine, Spandam screamed. Who authorized you to board my ship? You Marines are nothing more than lackeys of the world government. Spandam pointed at Dylan. UB ********* D, Rear Admiral, what do you want? Guess. Dylan tapped on the ship's side lightly, countless thunder lights entwined around, and the fine lightning filled the air, wrapping the judicial ship in the middle. Dylan Rear Admiral, are you planning to attack CP and Ennie's lobby's ship? Have you been recognized? Dylan looked at the talking CP-5 member. The huge intelligence network organized by CP is always monitoring High's every move. When Dylan defeated Bloodhook Rhodes and was promoted to Rear Admiral, CP also reorganized his past. A very strong man with the strength to start with Vice Admiral. This is the judgment of the CP organization on him. Mr. Spandam is appointed by the world government to be the CP-5 chief, and Dylan walked towards the hatch as if he didn't hear him. Continue to record. What? Is the phone bug broken? The face of the CP-5 member sank, the small phone bug in his arms and the video bug hidden in the hat fell silent at this moment. Dylan Rear Admiral, please think carefully about the consequences of attacking judicial officers and CP as a Marine. Then I'll think about it. Dylan glanced at Spandam's purple nose. Think about it. Kill you. You. The faces of CP-5 members sank, and the figures standing on both sides of Spandam flashed at the same time. Finger pistol break. Tempest kick break. Bang bang. Seeing his subordinate rushing up, Spandam turned around without hesitation and ran towards the cabin. Dylan led the 2 dead fish-like CP-5 members and threw them into the cabin. UB ********* D. UB ******** D. Spandam picked up the golden phone bug from the bedside of the room. Although I don't know what method you used, as long as I press this button. Buster call. How about you try? Dylan leaned against the door frame and looked at the sweaty Spandam nonchalantly. Snap. Spandam's hand trembled, and the golden phone bug woke up. Press it. Spandam's yan yi didn't last for 2 seconds before it turned into a smirk. Hey, forget it. If that's the case, then you be asterisk 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 D is going to die in the sea, and you even tried to attack Lord Spandam in vain. Dylan leaned against the door frame and dug his ears. This is at sea. If the signal is sent out, you will also become a scum under the marine artillery fire. You're lying. But, Dylan flicked his fingers. Within my ability, the signal cannot be sent out, don't worry. It's more scary, okay. You be asterisk 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 D. That's right. Dylan licked his lips. I understand Shiryu's hobby now. Spandam retreated to the edge of the cabin. What are you doing? Let you return to the essence of your life, Shira said, and Dylan slowly pulled out. You scum. Whoosh. The crimson sword light erupted from Dylan's body, piercing through the bodies of the justice ship and Spandam like cutting paper. Snapped. Shira returned to the sheath, and the entire judicial ship disintegrated like a building block whose base was removed. Dylan was suspended in the air and looked at the debris floating on the sea with a chuckle, and turned into a streamer and flew towards the water capital. Flame. Are you randomly adding weapons to the ship again? You be asterisk 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 D. What kind of ship is it without weapons? Ace Bagu, you idiot, you really aren't cool at all. Meow ha ha ha, a man should face the boat he built with a loud voice. Advertisement. I want you to manage. I want you to manage. Dylan descended slowly to the island of the Hulk and looked around. Can sea trains be built out of this garbage dump? Sure enough, the guy named Tom should not be underestimated. Especially since this guy is still in cat form. Seeing Dylan falling from the sky, Tom's chubby face showed a trace of solemnity, and Frankie and Iceberg, who were spraying each other, also fell silent. Although Dylan didn't speak, the aura emanating from him made the master and apprentice feel uneasy instinctively. World government. Looking at Dylan's cape, Tom subconsciously thought that the world government was about to break the contract. Dylan threw the dictaphone bug in his hand, and Tom pressed the switch suspiciously after taking it. Pluton. Yes, it's the lost ancient weapon. It should still be in the hands of the people in the water capital, most likely Tom. After all, he built the Golden Jackson for Roger. After this task is completed, you can be promoted to CP0 in advance. Hey, since the crime of building the Golden Jackson is going to be set off, then I will add another crime to you. Tom fell silent after listening to the recording, staring at Dylan for a moment before asking, what are they going to do? Their original plan was to steal that idiot's Frankie combat and attack the justice ship, so that idiot will be sentenced to death, leaving you with few options. Building a sea train can only offset one crime. How do you offset another? Pluton blueprints are your life. As that's so, Tom was a little depressed. It seems that I, who is famous, will always be unable to escape my fate. Beside Tom, Frankie and Bingshan, who were still arguing, showed serious expressions on their faces. They lived in the water capital and were close to Annie's lobby, and they knew how easy it would be for the world government to blame them. Due to some personal reasons, this guy has been killed by me, but Dylan stretched out his finger and shook. This does not solve the problem. The world government's search for Pluton will not be because of CP5 ended in failure. Damn it, whether it's Pluton or it's Golden Jackson, we're just boatmen. How can we control whether the person who sails the boat is a god or a devil? Is it because of this that we should be convicted? Who knows, this is not for a small person like me to decide. I have made a lot of determination just to kill CP5 who is going to frame you. Or you can choose to run away now, want to if you don't want to be threatened by the world government. It's not bad to go to New World to be a pirate. Dylan sat down against a huge rudder, and he was telling the truth. With Tom's high recognition, it was almost impossible to hide. The only way to stay safe temporarily is to go to New World and join the Four Emperors group. After all, the world government still does not have the ability to aggressively attack New World. Is it a pirate? Damn. Nor. Flame. It was rare for Tom to bow his head very seriously and stop Frankie. This man gave him a stronger sense of oppression than Roger gave him back then, not to mention that this man was wearing the cape of General Marine. Since you helped me out, it must be that my body can still be used by you. I don't know what you want. Is it also the design of Pluton? Tom is outspoken and doesn't have the same attitude towards Spandam as in the original book. Pluton. Dylan shook his head. Maybe it will be useful in the future, but not now. Tom's huge palms were clenched together. Then what do you want? My Marine base, and my future car is still missing a boatman. Join Marine, and the matter of Pluton will be borne by me in Marine for you, and Dylan turned his head to look a glance at the young and mature Iceberg. Let me tell you another way to not be threatened by the world government, so that the water capital has enough autonomy and the right to speak. In this way, you can build your ideal ship with peace of mind. How about it? What method? The green-haired Frankie immediately showed excitement when he heard Dylan's words. Bingshan and Tom looked at Dylan solemnly. Joining Marine, for them, it's like sending a sheep into a tiger's mouth. If I refuse, the world government should send people here again soon. Tom looked at the abandoned ships around him, feeling a burst of sadness and despair in his heart. Probably, it's Pluton, after all, and the next time it will definitely not be something like CP5. After being silent for a while, Tom suddenly looked up to the sky and laughed loudly. Meow ha 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 ha, it seems that I really can't escape my fate. If that's the case, let's face it. Roger. can build a ship for a man like him. It is my honor. A man like you, I believe it will not be bad. Old civet cat. Frankie stared at Tom with wide eyes. Are you really going to join Marine? Marine. What's wrong? There are good guys and heroes among pirates, like Roger, but there are more bad guys. There are bad guys in world government, like Spandam, but there are more good guys. Tom stood up and grinned. I chose you because I saw in you the same hope as Roger. No, it's a completely different hope from Roger. Prophet. Be careful with knives. Dylan teased. No, it's not a prophecy. Tom shook his head. It's the voice of the heart. Dylan looked at the serious Tom, nodded slightly, and then looked at the iceberg. If you want to have enough right to speak, you should integrate the entire water capital, and then make him the best shipbuilding base on the Grand Line and even in the world. In this way, the world government can only cooperate with you instead of threatening force. If you encounter resistance, I can provide you with some military support, of course, in secret. Dylan looked at the iceberg with a slightly disturbed expression. More often, it is better to conquer here by yourself, otherwise, even if it is unified, it will be very fragile. So it's really a good idea. Tom gave a rare kind smile and looked at the iceberg. Ace Bagu, the future of the City of Water is in your hands. Hey, old civet cat, why not me? Meow ha ha ha. As for Fram. Tom put his palm on his shoulder. You want to build the coolest and loudest boat in the world. Chapter 13 Five Elders. Just when Dylan explained to Bingshan how to unify the idea of Water City and was about to leave, the three breaths quickly approached Hulk Island. Three tall guys with weird masks appeared on the edge of Hulk Island. Adams Dylan Rear Admiral, I have something to ask you on behalf of the highest authority of the world government. CP0. Dylan looked at the oddballs. Judging from the aura exuding from them, their strength is very ordinary. At most, it is at the level of mid-range combat power in the Four Emperors Regiment. Oh, do you know me? It seems that you do know some secret information, so. The leader CP0 pointed at Tom. We have reason to suspect that the disappearance of CP5 has something to do with you, and you are close to what is the purpose of this criminal wearing a crime. Dylan took out a cigarette and lit it, looked at them after exhaling a puff of smoke. I don't know about CP5, but this guy. After pondering for a while, Dylan said to CP0, you call five elders, and I will explain to them. You have no right to talk to five elders directly. The leader CP0 said without emotion. Really? Dylan chuckled, you lackeys really have no eyes. Laugh. A crimson sword light flashed, and the CP0 member standing on the left flew out before he could react. A bloodline spread across the chest. Marine, are you ready? Shut up, you maggot in the gutter. If it's not for the peace of the sea, I can go to sea to be a pirate at any time, even as long as I want. I can join at any time, whether it's Kaido or Linlin. Just relying on you rotten sweet potatoes and rotten eggs, you have no ability to stop me, and you are not qualified to talk to me like this. Even though Shura had returned to her sheath, even the aura revealed just now made everyone present oppressed and breathless. My patience is limited. If the five elders are unwilling to talk, then I will go back to G5. What I do after that is up to you. The leader CP0 was silent for a while, then took out the phone bug, dialed, and then briefly stated what happened. Adams Dylan, why did you attack CP0? You should know that they are directly under the highest power of the world government. This is tantamount to a war against the government. The phone bug has changed into a blonde, red-faced man, one of the five elders. Some things are beyond their control. Dylan looked at the phone bug and pondered for a moment. Of course I have no intention of rebelling against the government. I believe you have already investigated this point. My achievements in East Blue for more than 10 years are enough to prove it all. Yes, this is why we are willing to talk to you. We believe that you are loyal to the world government and willing to contribute to the peace of the sea. Dylan sneered in his heart, but there was no abnormality in his mouth. In this case, let's get straight to the point. About Pluton. It should not be in the water capital. I believe CP has already investigated it. As for Tom, it is in the hands of Marine. Is better than killing him or completely pushing him to the opposite side. I believe you all agree on this point. The phone bug was silent for a moment, as if agreeing with Dylan's point of view. What you said has some truth, but the world government can't just give up the clue of Pluton. It's really embarrassing. Dylan dropped his cigarette butt and looked at the phone bug. Then, how about I exchange another piece of information? About a devil fruit that a certain world government has been pursuing for 800 years. The originally squinted eyes of the phone bug suddenly opened. What do you know? Dylan shook his head. I know very little. I have neither been to Raftel nor Ohara. I am not interested in the past history. I only pursue the future. Haven't you already confirmed some things? How? Can't trust your own judgment or the intelligence capabilities of the CP. Advertisement. As that's so, we have indeed confirmed your past, but you can say such a thing and know that fruit, which is enough to prove that you are not extraordinary. Don't worry about it. Five elders, we are not enemies, and there are still many people in this world who know the truth. The crew who followed Roger to the Raftel, some guys in the rocks, and guys like Doflamingo, right? Dylan's words made the five elders fall silent again, while CP0, holding the phone bug, trembled all over. It is not a lucky thing for him to know this secret about the nature of the world. That's right, compared to Roger's crew, so what if a man like you knows the truth? I believe you will still be willing to protect the peace of the sea, so, where did that fruit go? Quote. Caught by Redhead, Shanks. It's him. The phone bug was startled, and then it seemed that there was some problem, and some minor disputes occurred on the other end of the phone bug. The 5 elders on the call said to Dylan, Adams Dylan, you will take care of Tom. If you have any definite news about the fruit, please let us know. How to notify? Dylan looked at CP0 whose hands were already shaking. Tell CP0. No, it's up to you to contact us directly. The voice of the blonde 5 elders came. CP0 will give you a special phone bug that can communicate with us directly. As that's so, it's such a great right. By the way, besides that fruit, I also have some ideas about the 3 major weapons, but I don't have enough manpower. How about it? Let CP0 cooperate with me. CP0 bent down and held the phone bug. Hearing Dylan's words, the masked CP0 raised his head. Although he couldn't see his face, Dylan clearly felt his anger. Yes, but you can only share information through the CP organization, and you have no right to mobilize CP members. After the phone bug went off, Dylan looked at the lead CP0. After twitching the corners of his mouth, CP0 took out 2 phone bugs from his pocket. One was azure blue and the other was blue-gray. The blue phone bug is direct to 5 elders, and the gray one is, to me. CP0 was silent for a moment. You. Do you want a promotion? Dylan looked at CP0. Quote question mark quote. I know some interesting things. If you submit it as an investigation report, you will definitely be promoted. How about it? Although 5 elders said that I have no right to transfer you, would you like to give it a try? The expression of CP0 under the mask changed. This guy, who can tell so many secrets to 5 elders that even he doesn't know, maybe. Dylan put away the phone bug and said with a smile, I know that your intelligence network and financial resources are very strong. Help me find a few fruits. I have an approximate location. After I find it, I will give you the information about promotion. What kind of fruit? Information refers to. After Dylan leaned into CP0's ear and said a few words, CP0's eyes widened instantly. Ignoring his shocked expression, Dylan laughed and turned around and walked towards Tom. Come on, your charges have been cleared, and you will be the boatman of my G5 branch from now on. When Dylan talked to 5 elders just now, he didn't avoid Tom. For the dialogue between Dylan and the highest power in the world, Tom was shocked. When Roger was at his age, not only did he not have such strength, but he was far from having such insight and power. Then ask Rear Admiral to take care of me who was famous. Tom laughed loudly, and the haze that had been suppressed in his heart for many years was swept away. Ace Bagu, the subsequent construction of the sea train is up to you. Tom glanced back at the iceberg, and didn't say much else. After all, CP0 is still here. Don't worry, old civet cat. Frankie shouted. We will definitely make the water capital the best shipbuilding center in the world. Chapter 14 Going to Marine to shine and heat. After boarding the CP0 boat, Dylan looked at the uncomfortable CP0 who looked like he had eaten shit, and said, oh, don't be so stingy, not to mention that we are partners, at least we are colleagues, right? CP0 looked at Dylan who was lazily leaning on the deck, and didn't know what to say for a moment. 5 elders said, you have no right to mobilize CP. Taking a boat is not considered a transfer, is it? Dylan looked at CP0 with a smile. Don't be so stingy, there will be plenty of room for cooperation in the future. CP0 didn't speak anymore, silently digesting the location of the fruits that Dylan told him before, and the secrets that could get him promoted. If it is Toure. By the way, what's the composition of that Spandam guy? Dylan leaned on the side of the boat without looking at him, and asked while enjoying the sun. Spandam has left the CP organization, but still has some right to speak within the organization. Although he doesn't like Dylan in his heart, due to the pressure of 5 elders and Dylan's own strength, CP0 hesitated for a while and answered his question in a satisfactory manner. What's more, there is still a transaction between the two. Just as Dylan was chatting with CP0, the originally calm sea suddenly turned into waves. Dylan looked towards the sea and saw a familiar figure. Did you come to your door? Fatty Blue. You keep sailing, I will come over later. Dylan's body turned into lightning and disappeared on the deck. On the surface of the sea, Jinbe stood on the top of the waves, looking calmly at the rushing thunder. Yo, it looks like the octopus took my words. After Jinbe was silent for a while, he met Dylan's playful gaze. Although Arlong. Although what? Although he has done a lot of bad things, he is not guilty of death. Dylan sneered, and the way he looked at Jinbe began to change. If you are guilty, you are guilty. I don't distinguish between races. Needless to say, the Murlocs, the number of human beings who died at my hands could be as many as 80,000. There is only one reason. They are guilty. The marine cloak behind Dylan rattled violently in the howling sea wind. So Jinbe, restrain the bastards of Murloc Street. If you can't do it, it's best if you can kill them yourself. If you wait until I make a move. The sea surface was howling with gusty winds, and the clouds in the sky suddenly began to swell, and countless thunderbolts shuttled and roared in the clouds. It's not a problem that 1 or 2 heads can solve. Feeling the intertwined thunder and lightning in the air, Jinbe asked in a deep voice. So, what about the criminals who kidnapped and trafficked our compatriots? Control violence with violence. Dylan replied calmly. I understand. Facing Dylan's aura, Jinbe, standing on the wave, nodded. I will suggest it to Neptune. As for Murloc Street. Jinbe's eyes flashed brightly. I will finish it myself. That's the best. After speaking, Dylan's figure began to blur, and the thunderclouds in the sky gradually dissipated. After a while, except for Jinbe, which was still standing on the waves, the entire sea area returned to a sunny appearance. Looking at the almost invisible sails in the distance, Jinbe was silent for a long time, still struggling in his heart. Back on CP0's boat, Dylan sat down on the side of the boat again. CP0 took a look at him and walked into the cabin silently. With Tom, it is not easy for Dylan to use his ability to fly directly. There will still be some tricky guys on the way from Water City to G5. By the way, Tom, are you a Murloc? Dylan looked at Tom, who was sitting honestly beside him. Yes, it's a famous Murloc. Tom grinned. Dylan looked at Tom's chubby body. This guy can lift a ship with one hand, and his brute strength alone is not to be underestimated, let alone a Murloc. Have you ever fought? Advertisement. Fighting. Tom looked at Dylan suspiciously. I'm a famous boatman, fighting or something. No. It's not like this. Dylan looked at Tom with a rare serious expression. Possessing power and not using it lightly is two different things from not having power. Tom, in this sea, it doesn't matter whether it's a marine or a pirate. Only with power can we be better. Live up to what you believe in. But, Tom, who was always kind, hesitated. Although he was extremely powerful, he was really not good at fighting due to his personality. What do you think of my strength? Tom was stunned for a moment, rubbed his palm and said, very powerful, it seems to be stronger than the famous Roger when he was young. That's right. Dylan raised his hand and clenched it into a fist. Because I'm strong enough, I have many choices, and the world will be extra tolerant to me. Whether it's killing CP5 or keeping you strong, it's all about my mighty strength is inseparable. If I were weak today, not to mention you in Water City, even I myself would lose my life here. Pluton, Rayleigh, as the vice captain of One Piece, isn't he the one who must be encircled and suppressed? Why is he still living in the Sabayati archipelago majestically? Because he is strong enough to make the Marine and the world government think, without him on the premise of going berserk, is it worthwhile to forcibly encircle and suppress? This is the convenience brought by power. Seeing Tom struggling, Dylan looked at the sea. Didn't you think that if you have great power, not to mention the trash like CP5, even the world government or those big pirates would not dare to embarrass you easily? And you, can you better protect your disciples and help Water Capital? Hearing Dylan's words, Tom fell silent. If that's the case, maybe it's not a bad thing either. Dylan didn't need to lie to him. If Dylan didn't kill CP5 that day, it wasn't Dylan himself in the Water Capital. The fate of him, his disciples, and even the entire Water City will be completely different. Tom, who was sitting cross-legged on the deck, struggled for a moment, and his breath became heavy. So, what to do? Use your strengths. Dylan replied decisively. The water control of the Murlocs, and your strength. Simply put, Murloc karate and armament Haki. Hey, CP. Dylan yelled into the cabin. Come out for business. The expressionless CP0 came out of the cabin and looked at Dylan. World government must have fully included the practice method of Murloc karate in 800 years, right? How about it? Should I go to the 5 elders or trade with you? Seeing Dylan's almost rascal attitude, CP0 opened his mouth. Indeed, what do you plan to exchange? Dylan rubbed his chin. Murloc karate is actually not a difficult thing to do. There are many people who know it, but the version included in the world government is definitely the most complete. What can I trade it for? What happened to the op fruit? CP0's pupils shrank. Op fruit. World government pricing the fruit of 5 billion pele. In exchange for a mere Murloc karate training method. Looking at CP0's starry eyes, Dylan laughed loudly. Are you thinking about farts? In addition to the complete Murloc karate training method, at least one fruit I need will be exchanged, and 2 will smooth out the situation. How about a deal? CP0 thought about it and then nodded. Yes, if you want, you can now withdraw the same type of fruit from Mariajoy's curry. Although there are differences, the type is the same. After receiving Dylan's reply, CP0 immediately called 5 elders. What's up? It was still the blonde-haired 5 elders who answered the phone. After listening to CP0's statement, 5 elders signaled CP0 to target Dylan with the phone bug. Op fruit is also a very important fruit. Your request can be satisfied by me. Let me tell you where it is. CP0 will come to you with Mariajoy's fruit illustration book later. In the neighboring town, a boy named Trafalgar Law was eaten. His identity is a bit complicated, and he has some connection with Sengoku. Let you investigate it yourself. Understood, the remaining CP organizations will verify. The phone bug goes off. Dylan looked at CP0 and smiled meaningfully. How is it? Has this feat been obtained again? CP0 was silent, and finally nodded slightly. Luo, since you want to inherit Rocinante's will, don't be a pirate. Go to Marine and shine. Chapter 15 Ashura. After half a month of sailing from the water capital, the CP0 ship finally arrived at the front of New World. Hey, we're about to part. Don't you have any parting words? On board, masked CP0 seems to have gotten used to Dylan's usual hippie grin. Don't be so serious, even being a spy can be lively. Dylan patted CP0 on the shoulder. CP0 neither dodges nor responds to him. Seeing CP0's attitude, Dylan gave a cut and picked up 2 small boxes and said to Tom, "Let's go Tom, we're home." Inside the box were 2 he picked from Mariajoy's devil fruit illustration. After more than half a month of boring voyage, even Tom, who is as strong as Tom, is a little tired. Hearing Dylan's words, Tom stood up shaking and walked to Dylan's side. Finally arrived at the destination, even if it is loud, I can't stand it. After the two got off the boat, CP0 stood at the bow and watched Dylan's back. 10 days ago, after a quick round of investigation, the identity of the teenager named Trafalgar Law was confirmed. The world government acted quickly, and even directly mobilized Sengoku to a neighboring town to recruit the boy. After learning about Rocinante's past, Sengoku returned to Marineford holding Rocinante's little hand. As Marshal, Sengoku also personally called Dylan, although he only said, thank you. But the weight of it is self-evident. When Dylan walked into the gate of the G5 base, the originally messy and dirty base had become very tidy. Although it was still under construction, it basically took shape. Came back. At the gate of the base, Shiryu bit his cigar and looked at Dylan and Tom behind him. Transferred from Impel Down to the G5 branch, Shiryu's military rank has also changed, Marine Colonel, under Dylan's command. As for Tom's identity, Dylan communicated with Sengoku on the way, but Sengoku said that Tom can only be awarded the title after he has made a certain contribution to Marine. Dylan didn't refute this. After all, neither he nor Tom lived on Marine's salary. Nothing happened, right? Dylan looked at the eerily quiet G5 base. Observation Haki opened his eyes. Don't let Lousy go out for a trip. You slaughtered all the cats and dogs at home, right? After perceiving it for a while, I found that there is nothing missing in people, but they seem to have lost the arrogance and wildness before. It seems to be beaten. After all, Shiryu is not a good-tempered guy. They are already very restrained to be able to hold back the slaughter. Dylan stepped in, and Shiryu took the initiative to walk half a step behind Tom. Shiryu looked away after glancing sideways at Tom. Just fish. Adams Dylan, I want to report you to the headquarters. Before entering the hall, a brutal voice sounded from inside, and then an ugly Marine stepped forward angrily. What kind of guy did you bring back? It's an insult to Marine's justice, too much. The Commodore with a belt across his chest glanced at Shiryu behind Dylan, with a look of fear in his eyes. But after seeing that Shiryu didn't beat him violently as usual, he went overboard and became arrogant again. Overhead. This guy has been abusing G5 Marine officers and soldiers every day for less than a month. This is still. Boom. A fist covered in high-strength armament Haki punched Commodore's stomach over his head. Like a fired cannonball, the Commodore flew out from where it was, and was heavily embedded in the distant wall. Deduct the relevant expenses from the salary of this B************ D is maintenance. Dylan turned to the orderly next to him and said. Yes. The orderly straightened his body and glanced over his head. You guys have this day too. Then Dylan called Aokiji. What's the matter? I've only been quiet for a few days. The Commodore of the 06 unit of the G5 branch is too far, suspected of human trafficking, smuggling, and embezzlement of marine assets. Should I execute it on the spot or the headquarters will take over and escort it back for investigation? Quote. Is it true? Maybe. It's not good to execute on the spot. You can report it to the supervision department directly, and someone will take over. You guy, can you be a little patient with your lovely subordinates? Boo. ? Awesome Kuzan. Start hanging up other people's calls. Dylan shook his head, stuffing the phone bug into his arms. After the orderly man lifted his head down and locked him up, Dylan went to the office and sat down. Shiryu, your thunderstorm hasn't been refined into a black sword yet, has it? Shiryu twirled the cigar in his mouth and took out Thunderstorm. This is not something that ordinary people can do. As far as I know, only the Hawkeyes, has been refined into a permanent black knife. No, it seems your knife is too. Dylan smiled. There's actually a knife too, that knife. Dylan thought for a moment, where is Chushui now? Devil's Triangle. Wanokuni's national treasure. But it's still early, there are still 8 years before the Straw Hat goes to sea, so there is no rush. Let's deposit it in Moria's hands first. In addition to Haki, swordsmanship is also a very important part. Of course, if you are simply pursuing power, I have better choices here. Shiryu raised his eyebrows. What is it? Advertisement. Dylan picked up a box he had just brought off the CP0 boat and put it on the table. Zone. Human fruit. Phantom beast. Ashura form. You demons. Shiryu took a breath. He has served in Impel Down for many years, of course he knows how rare the Phantom beast is. Dylan looked at him with a half smile. In terms of rarity, the Phantom beast was indeed higher than Logia. But that doesn't mean it must be stronger than Logia. Power is a very broad concept, which includes various comprehensive factors. Physical skills, Haki, fruit, talent, experience, even racial specialties, weapons and equipment may affect a person's strength. Compared with you demons, Dylan thinks that Logia's ability is purer and more intuitive. This fruit is very suitable for you in some respects, because the legendary Ashura is also very warlike and irritable. How far you can develop it depends on your own good fortune and its approval. Quote. Approval. Dylan didn't explain too much. After all, the awakening of devil fruit requires certain conditions, especially phantom beast species. It seems that each phantom beast species has some kind of will stored in it. If you want to awaken and obtain the real power in it, you need to get the will in the fruit approved. Seeing that Dylan didn't answer him, Shiryu didn't ask any more questions, and stood in front of the table, staring at the ashura fruit and thinking. Dylan didn't rush him either, and started drinking tea on his own. 10 minutes later, Shiryu seemed to have made up his mind. If I accept it, what price will I pay? There is no extra price, you are my knife, of course the sharper the better. Dylan pushed the box containing the ashura fruit forward. The taste is a bit bad, I hope you are not picky. Shiryu stared at Dylan, and smiled after a long time before saying, I really don't know how strong you are, or. In your heart, even if I make the thunderstorm into a black knife, and then as this phantom beast fruit developed to ultimate, is it still not your opponent? Dylan laughed dumbly, but did not deny Shiryu's statement. Let's talk about it on that day, Shiryu, the war will not be too far away, and there is not much time left for you. You are eager for blood and fighting. There is no need to worry about this. In the near future, there will be endless battles waiting for you, whether you have no opponent or you are too weak. As that's so, Shiryu showed a smile on his face. Then I'm not polite, I will repay the kindness of this fruit with the blood of the enemy. After speaking, Shiryu picked up the ashura fruit and bit it without any hesitation. After a month and a half. Sabayati Archipelago. Dylan strolls around Island 12. Dylan paused as he passed a bar. Shaki's rip-off bar. Dylan stopped and looked at the signboard. Isn't this the bar owned by Rayleigh's old friend? Pluton, Rayleigh, who should be working as a coder in the 50s now. Dylan glanced at it and turned away. Hey, brother Marine, are you looking for someone? Rayleigh looked at Dylan with his clothes in one hand and a wine bottle in the other. Passing by, Dylan glanced at Rayleigh. This guy, neither the Summit War nor the Wano-kuni incident, didn't come forward. I just guided the cultivation of straw hats for 2 years in the middle. It's more like guidance, it's better to say it's prenatal education. It is far worse than Teacher Kaido. They taught Wong Luffy Conqueror's entanglement in half a day, and guided him to awaken the phantom beast fruit. Where are you Rayleigh? I have taught him for 2 years, 2 full years. As a result, Wong Luffy went out, and the knowledge color was taught by Kar, the armed color was taught by Higuro, and the Conquerors was taught by Teacher Kaido. You are also worthy to say that Wong Luffy is your disciple, I think you want to prostitute for nothing. Seeing that Marine in front of him didn't pay much attention to him, Rayleigh just stared at him with a strange and playful look, and couldn't help but feel a little strange. Aren't you coming in for a drink? Brother, stop drinking, you poor ghost, you don't make money from coding, you go to the black market to sell yourself every day, how can you treat me with good wine? Rayleigh stared at Dylan in the distance, then remembered what Shanks said 2 years ago when he returned from East Blue. Mr. Rayleigh, I met a very interesting kid in the East Blue, you know. He said the same thing as the captain, and I put my hopes on him. Really? That's really nice. But, the excited look on Shanks' face disappeared, replaced by a serious one. In East Blue, I also met a very special Marine. Special Marine. Rayleigh looked at Shanks a little strangely. This guy, in a sense, was also one of the bearers of the fire, always possessing a strong self-confidence and unparalleled optimism. Why is there such an expression? A very special Marine, Mr. Rayleigh. Shanks recalled the moment Dylan Conqueror's Haki broke out in the town of Rog. His strength simply suffocated me. Even if I hadn't lost my left hand, I'm afraid I wouldn't be able to defeat him. Oh, hearing Shanks' words, Rayleigh also put down the bottle in his hand. At that time, Shanks, in terms of personal strength alone, was almost on par with the older generation of strong players. And the Marine who can make him feel depressed. For the time being, only Garp and Sengoku should have this kind of strength in the active Marine. And, it's very young, seems to be a few years younger than me. Mr. Rayleigh. After a moment of silence, Rayleigh smiled slightly. Shanks, isn't that what the sea is like? If you want to chase your dreams, crossing one mountain after another is an indispensable experience. Since you are optimistic about East Blue's kid, then choose to believe in him. After all, isn't what the sea lacks most is a miracle. Chapter 16 I am a soldier, you are a thief. Adams Dylan. Not long after leaving the door of Shaki's ripped-off bar, a woman's voice sounded behind Dylan. A woman who was about 40 tall was standing on the corner of the street, with a hood over her head. Dylan looked at her and didn't speak. Today is the day when Linlin and him agreed to pay the money, and the people who came should be from the Charlotte family. So tall, long-legged. Smoothie. Dylan raised his eyebrows. It seems that there is no such thing as a 3-star dessert at this time, but Smoothie should also be very high in the ranking of the Big Mom Pirates. Sending this kind of guy, could it be that Linlin wants to prostitute for nothing? The woman standing against the wall shook her head. I'm Charlotte Snamon, and Smoothie is my sister. Ho, what, it turned out to be a nobody, did you bring anything? Anger flashed across Charlotte Snarman's hooded face, but it didn't flare up. After all, this man can easily defeat Daifuku Big Brother, and it is really difficult to compete with her strength. Do you check the goods here? Dylan didn't intend to inspect the goods at first, but the other party seemed to have a deep meaning. Go to the bar in front. Charlotte Snamon silently followed Dylan into Shaki's ripped-off bar. Miss Boss, Dong Peely. When Shaki behind the bar saw the two of them, he was startled for a moment, and then smiled freely. Ah, what a rare distinguished guest, thank you for taking care of me. Rayleigh, who was sitting in the corner, narrowed his eyes slightly when he saw Dylan walking in. Brother Marine. It's none of your business, old man, drink your bar. After choking Rayleigh back, Dylan walked to the front of the bar and sat down, looking at Charlotte Snammon. What good things do I need to inspect? Could it be Logia, or a phantom beast? In the corner, Rayleigh cocked his ears and followed Dylan's every move. It's the paramesha fruit, the fruit of the city. Charlotte Snammon opened the suitcase in her hand, revealing a gray-white devil fruit, and the pattern on the surface of the fruit showed the same texture as a slate. Dylan took the Jonchung fruit and looked at Shaki. Miss Boss, is it a genuine product? Shaki covered his mouth and smiled. It is indeed the fruit of the strong city. It is a fruit with a very unique effect. Hey, I asked you to help inspect the goods. I didn't ask you to add value to him. It's difficult for me to do business like you, Lady Boss. Is that so? Shaki elegantly exhaled a puff of smoke and said with a smile. I'm really sorry, Brother Marine, then, Dong Pai Li will be my treat. Dylan was playing with the fortress fruit in his hand, and turned his head to look at Charlotte Snammon who was standing beside him. It's kind of useful, but, there is no saying that a mere paramesha fruit is worth more than Daifuku's life, right? Charlotte Snammon shook her head. Of course it doesn't mean that. It's just to ensure the face-to-face transaction, and also to show the sincerity of the Charlotte family. Mom means that there will be opportunities for cooperation in the future. Ho, is that so? Dylan stroked his chin, examining Charlotte Snarman. The Big Mom pirate group, although one of the 4 emperors groups after a few years, is the weakest. Linlin itself is extremely unstable, with cravings, a nun, and 6 relatives who have gone mad. Even every member of Toto Land has to surrender his soul and lifespan to Linlin. Many unstable factors make this seemingly huge pirate group full of loopholes. Go back and tell Linlin that the deal is over. As for the rest, let's talk about it later. Dylan waved and Charlotte Snammon walked out of Shaki's ripped-off bar, in silence. Shaki crossed his arms over his chest, watching Dylan tap his fingers on the bar. Rayleigh in the corner sat down next to Dylan without moving. Brother Marine, have we met? You seem to have an inexplicable hostility towards me. Rayleigh put one hand on the bar and held the bottle in the other. You are a thief, I am a soldier. Isn't it normal for me to be hostile to you? Is it because you are Roger's right arm, Pluden Rayleigh, that I should abandon my beliefs and positions? Dylan put the fortress fruit back into the box, stood up and shook his cloak. You and I are naturally opposed, but you have stopped for many years, and Garp didn't kill you all back then, which means that you are not evil. But Rayleigh, quote. Shanks should have come to you, right? I'll say the same thing to you again, and only once. I don't care if you raise your old age, but don't cross the line. You have your persistence and waiting, and I have mine. Hearing the word, wait, Rayleigh's glasses flashed. Oh, you. Before he could speak, Dylan pushed the door open and walked out, leaving Rayleigh sitting there in deep thought. Shaki came around from behind the bar and walked behind Rayleigh and stroked his back lightly. What, are you worried about the fire of the new era? This is not like you. Rayleigh raised his head and took a sip of his drink. After a moment of silence, he asked Shaki, were we this strong when we were young? Shaki thought for a while with a cigarette in his hand, then shook his head. He didn't make a move, I can't judge, but what is certain is that at the same age, he is far stronger than you and Roger. Advertisement. Yeah, Rayleigh looked a little lonely. He should be a few years younger than Shanks. Since Shanks met him, the will of Tinder has been shaken. Rayleigh. Shaki sat down with his back against the bar, and looked sideways at Rayleigh. Your mission has been completed. The fire has been passed on smoothly, and the next thing should depend on fate arranged. Fate. Rayleigh laughed at himself. It turns out that one day we can only silently wait for the arrangement of fate. It's always been like this, isn't it? Holy Land, Mariajoy. In the huge palace, the 5 elders are gathered together. According to CP's intelligence, Adams Dylan appears to have made some sort of deal with Charlotte Linlin and made contact with Pluden, Rayleigh. The bearded 5 elders shook the information on his hand. What do you think? 5 elders, holding a long knife, said casually while wiping his weapon. I don't think you need to care about it. From his past experience, he is indeed not a pedantic person. Trading with pirates, as long as it is beneficial to the stability of the world, it's not impossible. 5 elders, who had a birthmark on his head, crossed his hands and seemed to disagree. This man is still shrouded in fog. His strength is unquestionable, but some of the special abilities he displayed have to be worrying. Is it possible that he is also one of the lamps? Or Tinder? I don't rule out this possibility, but I don't think the chance is high. After all, after joining the Marine camp, it will be difficult for him to get the recognition and help of those ancient families. It is almost equivalent to losing the right to become a fire seed. The scene fell silent for a while, and the blonde 5 elders said after thinking for a while, since it is difficult to distinguish, then, let's ask Lord IM for instructions. I believe he will give us the correct guidance. Quote. Seconded. G5 base. After 2 months of construction, the base has taken on a new look. Inside the base, Belmel sits in Dylan's office with his legs crossed, wearing the cape of Lieutenant Commander. Rear Admiral, I heard from the people in this department that you are like a demon king in East Blue. Why has there been no movement for so long on the Great Route? Dylan put his feet up on the table and glanced at Belmel and Shiryu. Do I have to say it's because you are too weak? This is the new world, not the paradise, let alone the world. If you go out to hunt, you will easily come into contact with the big pirates. With G5's current level, not enough. So that's it. G5's usable combat power is really not much, Shiryu said while wiping the blade of thunderstorm. Ah, I'm really underestimated. Belmel leaned back on the sofa, humming boredly. Shiryu turned his head slightly to look at Belmel, paused and said, although I don't know why Dylan values you so much, I think you should go to battle to improve better. After all, your talent is better than that of the boatman outside. It's really far from it. Hearing the word, boatman, Bel's expression froze. Tom, that guy, after mastering the armed color hardening, it is matched with his incomparable strange power. In terms of strength alone, even monsters like Dylan are slightly inferior to him. Even at this point, Dylan still requires him to practice his armor hardening and strength uninterruptedly. So near the G5 base, you can often see a fat body carrying 2 warships on its shoulders doing leapfrogs along the beach. As for the armed color, Tom simply covered and stood still and let Belmel attack him. It was Belmel himself who was injured. Damn, aren't we all human? How could the gap be so huge? Belmel slapped the table. Poof, Shiryu exhaled smoke. That guy is not human, he is a murloc. Belmeyer looked up at Shiryu. What about you? You are human, right? Shiryu squinted his eyes and clamped the cigar with 3 fingers. Even human beings are very different. Like him. Shiryu raised his chin in the direction of Dylan. Even if there is no fruit, he is the top existence in the sea in terms of Haki, swordsmanship, and physical skills alone. And Shiryu put Lei Yu back into the scabbard. How old is he? Hearing Shiryu's words, Bell broke his guard and quit the group chat cursing. After Bell went out, Dylan shook the chair and said to Shiryu, you are right, her potential cannot be stimulated through exercise, so let her go to West Blue in 2 days. Go to Flower Guo Lian Lian show, you follow quietly, unless you are in danger of death, otherwise you don't have to worry about him. The Kingdom of Flowers. Is it the 8 Treasures Navy? I heard that there are also some troublesome guys in it. It's not a big problem. Dylan stretched his body. With your current strength, you should be able to deal with green peppers. Chief, green pepper. There was a red light in Shiryu's eyes. Sensing the madness in Shiryu's emotions, Dylan frowned. Your task is to keep an eye on Belmel, not to vent your desire to kill blindly. The will of Ashura is to challenge the strong, not slaughter the weak for no reason, Shiryu. To understanding, Shiryu nodded slightly, signaling that he understood. Chapter 17 Tom vs. Jinbe. West Blue, the border of the country of flowers. TCH, this kind of country that focuses on plundering. Belmel jumped off the warship with a cigarette in his mouth. The warship of the West Blue branch left after delivering Belmel. Looking at the land in front of him, Belmel, who was wearing normal clothes, took out a map from his pocket. 8 Treasure Navy, it's just you guys. In the woods in the distance, Shiryu looked at the direction Bell was leaving and muttered, this idiot, wouldn't he go directly to the 8 Treasure Navy? G5 branch. Dylan was lying on a deck chair on the beach wearing sunglasses, looking at Tom who was practicing crazily on the sea in the distance. High tide drum. With a loud shout, the originally calm sea in the distance suddenly shrank down. From a distance, it seems that the entire coastline has dropped a lot. Then a huge shock erupted from around Tom's body. G5 Marine standing next to Dylan was reeling from the powerful impact. Dylan's neck twisted slightly, and Marine next to him jumped up from the ground instantly and stood in a neat row. HMPH. Dylan snorted slightly, and the rogue Marines in G5 were sweating on their foreheads and remained motionless. Hey, Tom. Dylan called out to Tom in the distance. Tom on the sea heard Dylan's voice, his fat body jumped up from the sea, and fell towards everyone's position like a cannonball. Rustle. The original dusty scene did not appear, and Tom landed lightly in front of Dylan. You go to the Fishman Island and do something. Tom raised his head and laughed loudly. Shiryu and Xiaomei have been away for almost 2 months, is it finally my turn to be famous? It may not be a good thing for you. Dylan looked at Tom with a half smile. Tom's expression straightened. Since a man has made a choice, he must face it loudly. Tell me, Dylan Rear Admiral, what is the mission of the loudest? Go to the Fishman Island and see if Jinbe has kept the agreement. If not, you bring me 2 people back. Who? Hody Jones and Vanda Duncan, live or die. The Fishman Island. You are Mr. Tom, the shipbuilder of the City of Water. Jinbe looked at the Murloc who was about the same height as him in front of him. Tom also looked at this compatriot who was running around for the sake of a stable life for the race. Thinking of the task Dylan gave him, he felt a little tangled in his heart, but he calmed down in an instant. As he himself said, since he has made a choice, he should carry it out to the end. No, I'm Tom, Marine G5 branch non-staff boatman. Jinbe looked at Tom with a complicated expression. He had heard about Tom's life experience. But he didn't know that Tom actually joined Dylan's command. Dylan Rear Admiral asked me to come over and ask you, is the agreement completed? No. Jinbe's face changed, and he said with some embarrassment, some things happened a few days ago. The Fishman Island is in a bad situation right now. Quote. As that's so, Tom remembered that when he entered the Fishman Island just now, the atmosphere on the island was really weird. Sadness and anger were written on everyone's face. But, Tom clenched his fist. Dylan Rear Admiral said, an agreement is an agreement, and 2 months is enough time for you to fulfill your promise. If it is not completed, then, I will do it get your interest back. Jinbe's body froze, as if he expected something. The so-called interest refers to Hody Jones and Vanda Duncan. Not good. Jinbei's heart tightened. Vanda Duncan was alright. Hody Jones is now the leader of Murloc Street. After the death of Princess Otahime, it was he who spread the word that humans killed the princess. No, Jinbei refused immediately without thinking. Although Hody Jones, like Arlong, is garbage. But it cannot be allowed to be executed so hastily by others. Not to mention the present critical period. Is that really the case? Tom looked a little disappointed. From the bottom of his heart, he doesn't want to fight with his compatriots from the Fishman Island, but that man's order cannot be disobeyed. The jet black armed color instantly covered Tom's arms. Then, I, who is famous, can only carry out his will. See man, Jinbei. Never. Before Jinbei could finish his sentence, Tom's huge fist struck towards him with a whistling sound of piercing through the air. Shawa Righteous Fist. Shawa Righteous Fist. As soon as the two pitch-black fists came into contact, there was a circle of ripples visible to the naked eye. Boom. Jinbei's figure shook slightly and flew backwards. This is, what a power. Jinbei looked at Tom in surprise. I never heard that you have such a powerful fighting ability, and your Murloc karate seems to be somewhat different from ours. These are all gifts from that man. Let's save the small talk until after the important business is done. Tom clenched his fists in parallel. Seeing his posture, Jinbei shrank his pupils and also raised his fists. High Tai Drum. High Tai Drum Sura. The two breaths compressed and exploded at the same time, but the breath erupting from Tom far surpassed Jinbei's. This is, boo. The thick breath crushed past, and then passed through Jinbei's body. Advertisement. Cough. The violent impact pierced through Jinbei's body, and Jinbei finally spat out a mouthful of blood after trying to suppress it. Tom walked up to Jinbei and looked at Jinbei who was half squatting on the ground. So, can I go look for those two people? Blood was spilling from the corner of Jinbei's mouth. He stood up with strength, and said calmly, go, Hody Jones is on Murloc Street. I hope you don't hurt other innocent people. As if thinking of something, Jinbei raised his hand and wiped the bloodline from the corner of his mouth. No. I'd better go with you, or those idiots. Tom nodded. Except for the two designated by Dylan, he really didn't want to hurt other compatriots. He's not that Shiryu guy. When Jinbei and Tom walked into Murloc Street side by side, the eyes of the people around them were completely different. Some people's eyes are full of admiration, while others' eyes are full of disgust. Hey, Jinbei, you traitor, do you still have the face to go back to Murloc Street? Hody Jones. Tom looked at the shark Murloc wearing a beret in front of him. After Jinbei glanced around, he seemed to have made up his mind, and said in a deep voice, except for Hody Jones, everyone should disperse. Why? Hody Jones showed 2 rows of fangs. You traitor, you want to represent mankind to arrest me. Although he was furious, Jinbei suppressed his anger and shouted, this old man is here to protect more people. And Hody Jones, you are not Brother Tai, and you can't be the hero of the Fishman Island. You he's just a trash blinded by hatred. Ahahaha. Jinbei, can you finally hold back? As more and more people watched, some familiar faces also appeared. A member of the original Sun Pirates. Jinbei. Some people showed doubts, is it true that Jinbei really wants to kill Murloc Street? If you choose to trust the old man, don't interfere, and the old man will give you an explanation afterwards. Jinbei yelled at his original companion, and his heart was also very painful. My old partner. The members of the Sun Pirates hesitated for a moment, then looked at each other and retreated to both sides of the street, indicating that they would not intervene for the time being. Ahahaha, you guys, have you forgotten what humans have done to us? Hody Jones raised his arms and shouted, but there must be someone who hasn't forgotten. Nor should forget. Hit the water. Hody Jones, who was still inspiring people just now, made a shot without warning, and a tiny water drop shot at Jinbei like a sharp sword. Snapped. The flying drop was caught by Tom with his bare hands and held in his palm. It seems to be a misunderstanding. Let me clarify here. The one who came to arrest you was not Hexia, Jinbei, but me. Marine G5 branch boatman, Tom. Marine. The expressions of the people around changed, especially the original members of the Sun Pirates. Many even took up arms. What's wrong? Tom shouted loudly. Dragon Palace Kingdom is also a member country of world government, can't Marines enter? Is the Fishman Island going to separate from world government? As soon as Tom's words came out, even the members of the Sun Pirates were taken aback. It's true that they are pirates, and it's true that they hate humans. But if they blatantly attack Marine and break away from the world government, the Fishman Island will be completely classified as a hostile force of the world government. This is definitely not the result they want. Jinbei's scalp also went numb for a while. Once such word spread to the land, the efforts of the Dragon Palace Kingdom for hundreds of years will be in vain. Stay away. After the crowd whispered for a while, most people finally backed away. They absolutely cannot bear the shock of leaving the world government. Hody Jones looked at the dispersed crowd with disdain on his face. You guys, sooner or later the Murlocs will die in your hands. Then, the rest are diehards. Tom stared ahead at the man still standing with Hody Jones. Hit the water needle. The water droplets thrown by Hody just turned into dozens of tiny water lines at this moment. Before Hody and the others could react, it penetrated their bodies instantly. Pooh. Blood spattered. Except for Hody Jones, everyone fell to the ground and lost consciousness in an instant. Boom. Tom jumped up and landed beside Hody Jones. Then a huge palm pressed Hody Jones' head. Boo 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 boo. Tom pressed answer, and the image of Dylan appeared. How is it, Tom, is it over? I'm very sorry, I encountered a little problem, and I just got Hody Jones under control. Hody Jones. On the other end of the phone bug, Dylan smiled. Tell the guys at the Fishman Island that Princess Otahime wasn't assassinated by humans. This guy wanted to stop Otahime's peace talks. Shoot quietly, find his gun, and there must be other witnesses around. What? The voice in the phone bug startled the others. Especially Jinbe, he has seen that man and knows his strength. He has no need to lie. Jinbe's body trembled with anger. Hody Jones. Ha 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 ha. Otahime, that idiot, how stupid to talk about living in peace with humans. Hody Jones, who was held down by Tom, laughed wildly. After being easily defeated by Tom, he knew that he could no longer live. Murlocs are born to rule the sea, they shouldn't hide in the deep sea, fellow citizens. Kill him. Dylan's nonchalant voice came from the phone bug. Tom took a breath, and then tightened his palms. Rough shark. Snap. Hody Jones' skull shattered and his voice suddenly died away. Dylan didn't seem to be in a good mood, and the voice in the phone bug also became impatient. Find Vanda Duncan, kill him directly, and then return to the base to report. Yes. The phone bug fell into a deep sleep, and Murloc Street also fell into dead silence. Chapter 18 Wu Leguan. Outside the Fishman Island, Jinbe is standing beside Tom. Although it's a little presumptuous, but I still want to ask, why did you shoot Vanda Duncan? I don't know, but I believe that man will not give orders to me who is famous for no reason, and, even if it is an order without reason, I will carry it out. Tom clenched his fists, and there was a huge black figure swimming towards the Fishman Island in front of him. Meet you at Manzu. He is just a child who is not very sensible. Please give me some time, let me persuade him to leave Vanda Duncan's command. Hurry up, you just heard that the man seems to be in a bad mood. Jinbe nodded, and walked in front of Tom. Hi, see you in Natsu. Oh, it's the boss of Jinbe, what's the matter? Mionjinjian's voice sounded like a child's, and it looked extremely weird and funny when combined with his full beard and chest hair. Vanda Duncan is not worth following, and he's about to be arrested, you. What? Want? To capture the captain. Before Jinbe could finish speaking, Mionjinjian exclaimed, unforgivable. Mionzu saw a huge and dilapidated ship behind him, as if it was a legendary ghost ship. On the boat, the four-legged Vanda Duncan laughed strangely when he heard Mionjinjian's voice. He, come and catch me. Jinbe. See you at Natsu. Get rid of him. Yes, Captain. Under the order of Vanda Duncan, Manatsumi raised his fist and threw it at Jinbe. Anyone who wants to harm the captain, die in the sea. Jinbe's face darkened, his right foot retreated slightly, and his right fist was raised. Murloc Karate Mysteries Wu Leguan. A huge water ball spun in front of Jinbe's palm, and then penetrated Mitsumi's body. Wow. It hurts. Under the high pressure of the deep sea, the power of Jinbe's Wu Leguan was greatly reduced. It just beat Mitsumi until he vomited blood, but he didn't lose his ability to fight. Damn. Deterrence. Millions of bald heads. Matsumi opened his mouth wide, and the air and sea water from the bottom of the sea poured into his body together. The already huge body inflated like a balloon, approaching Jinbe and Tom. Murloc. Jinbe took a slight breath, and was about to strike again. Enough. Let's end this farce. Tom walked to Jinbe's side and raised his hand to stop Jinbe. Then Jinbe saw Tom put on the same pose. Jinbe was taken aback. For the same move, there seemed to be a big difference between how Tom used it and other Murlocs. Isn't even Wu Leguan different? On Tom's fist, the water polo was spinning at a super high speed, and the density of the water polo had also been compressed to an extremely terrifying level. Murloc Karate Mystery Wu Lai Star Penetration. Boom. The high-pressure shock that surpassed Wu Leguan several times wrapped Mitsumi's huge body, and the huge shock wave even shattered the ghost ship behind him. Mionjin rolled his eyes and fell down. The ghost ship also fell apart. After the huge shock wave penetrated Mitsumi and the ghost ship, there was no stagnation at all, and it still rushed towards the deep sea. From a distance, it looks like a comet. Tom stomped his foot, and his huge body was launched like a torpedo. Vanda Duncan, who was shattered by the Wu Leguan with the swimming coating, was found in the fragments of the ghost ship. The target fruit ability user, Vanda Duncan, has also turned his eyes white at this moment. Jinbe followed to Tom's side. He attacked Princess Shirahoshi many times, it's not as good as. Although he was shocked by the Wu Leguan that Tom used just now, Jinbe still did not forget his duty. With your strength, can't you catch him early in the morning? Jinbe. Jinbe was also taken aback for a moment. Yes, Vanda Duncan, if he made a move, he would have solved it long ago, right? Although I don't know why that man hates him so much, I believe this guy must have a reason to die. Advertisement. Tom held Vanda Duncan's head in one hand and held it high. I think the man's words are very reasonable. The kindness to the enemy is the cruelty to the friend. The water in Tom's hand flashed. Rough shark. Like Hody Jones, Vanda Duncan's head was shattered and his limbs hung limp. After throwing Vanda Duncan's body aside, Tom said to Jinbe, I have heard your story, and I admire what you have done for the Fishman Island, but you who are so indecisive and kind, are you also trying to protect the Fishman Island? Jinbe. Did you say that to Fatty Blue? Dylan looked at the nervous Tom in front of him meaningfully. That That's how it is, I think that kind of man shouldn't be like this. As that's so. Dylan nodded indifferently. What about you? How do you feel about this trip? Tom raised his furry palm and scratched his head. It's not. Dylan laughed. How strong is Jinbe, one of the Shichibukais, sea man? Tom showed a trace of doubt. I am also a little confused about the sound, isn't 7 warlords of the sea, a big pirate? Why? Dylan raised his feet and said leisurely. It's not that he is weak, but that you are strong enough now, Tom. Of course, it has not reached the strength I expected. So, it is not time to relax, waiting for you, Shiryu, Bell when Mel and others are strong enough, we will end this era of chaos together and bring peace to the sea. You can also return to the capital of water. I will help you and spread the sea train to the entire area, ocean. Tom showed a longing look. I'm really looking forward to that day. Then Tom seemed to remember something, lowered his head and asked again. The Murloc karate I use seems to be different from others. Of course, Dylan lit up a cigarette to himself. What you practice is sorted out and perfected by the world government over the past 800 years. What they practice is only passed down from generation to generation. Maybe theirs is more authentic, but yours is definitely stronger. Understood. Tom nodded with a questioning expression. Dylan shook his head to indicate that he could go out. Seeing Tom's back, Dylan smiled. This guy is really a treasure. Although his talent is not as good as Wong Luffy's, he can't master Conqueror's Winding in 3 hours, but it can definitely be regarded as a monster level. When he masters the use of all armed colors and raises the strength of armed colors to another level. There are only a handful of people who can fight him hand to hand in this sea. If it is in the sea, he is invincible. Boo 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 boo. Dylan was a little surprised when the blue phone bug rang. 5 elders took the initiative to call themselves. Hey, Adams Dylan. We have received news from the Dragon Palace Kingdom. Your subordinates have clarified the misunderstanding between humans and Murlocs. Ho, Neptune, a salted fish, is quite clever. Facing 5 elders, Dylan didn't make too many promises. Quote. 5 elders also seemed a little surprised by his attitude, but then relaxed. As one of the representatives of the alien race, the Murloc's attitude plays a very important role in the stability of the world government. This time you have made a contribution, how do you reward it? Actively explode equipment. Dylan stroked his fingers. Something is wrong, 5 elders are so talkative. Don't you just have a smile on your lips, and your mother is trying to get rid of Lousy, right? But it's not easy to ask this question directly. Dylan opened his mouth. It should be done, but I happen to have something I want to ask you for help, why not count it as a reward this time? Oh, let's hear it. Dylan looked at the fortified city fruit on the bookcase next to him. I heard that Vegapunk has a lot of research on devil fruit, and has made preliminary progress in object fusion. I want him to help me fuse a fruit. Is that all? I promised, and CP members will come to you later to understand your detailed needs. If you order, we will directly convey it to Vegapunk. After 5 elders finished speaking, he hung up the phone. Looking at the extinguished phone bug, Dylan frowned slightly. What is the reason for 5 elders to take the initiative to contact themselves? The matter of the mere Murlocs is definitely not enough to cause such a huge change in 5 elders' attitude. Is it that person? Dylan thought of The Void Throne by Mariajoy. The only thing that can have such a huge impact on 5 elders is Chapter 19. Are you worthy of asking me to give you face? Dylan Rear Admiral, today's paper. Dylan took the newspaper and glanced at it, his brows furrowed instantly. Don Quixote Doflamingo becomes King de Ris Rosa. Okay, this flamingo is this year. After rubbing the space between his brows, Dylan tossed the newspaper aside. Forget it, in the current situation, not everything can be taken care of. Seeing that the orderly hadn't gone out yet, Dylan was a little surprised. Is there anything else? And the messenger took out another newspaper. It's West Blue's newspaper, and it seems to be related to Mr. Shiryu and the others. Shiryu. With Shiryu's strength, there should be no opponents in West Blue, so how could it be in the newspapers? Red Hair pirates landed in the Kingdom of Flowers and started a battle with the mysterious man, the result of which is unknown. Quote. Dylan narrowed his eyes. Redhead. Is one hand too much? Picking up the Asura knife on the table and putting it on his shoulders, he lowered his head and ordered to the messenger. Tell Tom, I will go out for a few days and let him take care of the house. Yes. West Blue, within the country of flowers. Ahem, you be *******D, you're really impulsive, Red Hair, Shanks is not a good opponent. Belmo leaned against the rock, looking sluggish. Under the opposite tree trunk, Shiryu closed his eyes and ignored Belmo. I'm in trouble, ahem. Shut up, you idiot. Shiryu took a breath and interrupted Belmo. If you hadn't insisted on finding trouble with the 8 treasure sailor, how could you be entangled by the red hair? Belmel. Cut. A bit, took out the cigarette and lit it, but only one puff hurt the lungs. Ahem, cough cough. Babao Navy. These bandits. Forget it, the phone bug is broken now, we can only wait for little Dylan to realize that we are in crisis. The carefree Belmo put out his cigarette, closed his eyes, and his face was extremely pale. Shiryu raised his eyes and looked at the woman opposite. I have to admit that although this guy is weak, but her courage and fearlessness in battle has earned Shiryu's respect. Come on, Dylan. This stupid woman can hardly hold on. In the woods in the distance, there was a rustling. sound, and Shiryu forcibly raised his spirits to hold, thunderstorm. Don't be nervous, we are members of the CP stationed in the Kingdom of Flowers, and we have been ordered to search for the two of you. After recognizing the identity of the visitor, Shiryu breathed a sigh of relief, and said to CP, have you brought a doctor? That woman. Opposite Shiryu, Bell's head had fallen to the side, and his face had turned sallow. Yes, according to the report from the Kingdom of Flowers branch, Bell-Mel Lieutenant Commander's injuries are very serious, and he can only barely maintain his vital signs. Dylan hung in the air and looked at the phone bug with cold eyes. Don't talk so much nonsense with me, you just need to tell me, will she die? CP0 was silent for a moment. Not yet, but. Use all the capabilities of your CP organization to send her to the Drum Kingdom as quickly as possible, and notify me when she arrives. If she dies on the way, you know the consequences. CP0 did not refute, and after a slight pause, he said, okay. Also, lightning flashed around Dylan's body. Where is the ship of red hair? I want the exact location. The border of the country of flowers. Red hair pirates. Red force. Shanks. Ben Beckman looked at the injured lackey Lu, and at the captain with a serious face. Just yesterday, they encountered green peppers being chased by Shiryu of the Rain, on their way to the Great Glacier, in the Land of Flowers. Although the reason was not stated, Shanks immediately went to the rescue of the leader, Qingjiao. During the fight between the two sides, Laji Lu was hit by Shiryu's slash and was seriously injured, and Shiryu himself was also severely injured by Shanks. As for the woman, was severely injured by Usopp, who was enraged by his partner's injury. Shiryu of the Rain, it turned out to be that man's subordinate. And that woman. After learning the news through special channels, Shanks fell silent. Looking at the unconscious lackey Lu in the cabin, Shanks' eyes flashed determination. No matter what, you can't give up your companions. What is that? On the mast, the lookout's voice trembled. Shanks and Ben Beckman also seemed to sense something, looking seriously into the distance. On the distant sea, endless dark clouds wrapped in violent thunder pressed towards the position of Red Force. The catastrophic scene left everyone on board dumbfounded. When the dark clouds covered the entire sky, an emotionless voice sounded in everyone's ears. Who injured my subordinate? The members of the Red Hair Pirates looked at the figure slowly descending from the thundercloud, and some crew members with poor physical fitness had fainted uncontrollably. GEU. The cadres swallowed their saliva. This momentum is even more terrifying than before. Is there no answer? Dylan pulled out Shura, and just as the scarlet red blade was exposed to the air, the bloody smell spread across the entire sea. Boom. Usopp raised his spear. The bullet covering armament Haki flew towards Dylan's forehead in an instant. It's me. How about you be D Marine? Shanks opened his mouth slightly, smiled wryly and then drew his saber, the Griffin. Get ready to fight. Go all out. The bullet flew less than 1 meter away from Dylan's eyes, as if being held by an invisible hand, and then fell into the sea. Very good. Dylan, who was suspended in the air, looked at the red hair pirates on the sea. The thundercloud rolled, and thunderbolts as thick as buckets entangled and intertwined in the clouds. Even though the red hair pirates tried their best to release armament Haki, they still felt the hair on their bodies trembling and their skin numb slightly. Logia awakening. Shanks' face darkened, and the Black Conqueror's Haki instantly covered Griffin. God avoids. A huge slash shot up into the sky, flying towards Dylan. In the face of Roger's famous stunt and Shanks' powerful Conqueror's Haki, Dylan did not take it lightly. Condemned. Inanimate. Advertisement. Haki, who is slightly different from the red hair, is wrapped around Shira's blade, and Haki's slash with a strong smell of blood erupts from Shira's blade. The moment the slashes collided, the thundercloud in the sky was split into two. Both Shanks on the ship and Dylan in the air pour power into it with their respective weapons in their hands. Bang bang. 2 shots were fired. A long shot from Usopp. A shot from Ben Beckman's pistol. Usopp's bullet was ignored by Dylan, but Ben Beckman's bullet was wrapped around Conqueror's Haki. Son of ABCH. Dylan gritted his teeth, held Shira's hands and pressed them. The 2 stalemate slashes in the air erupted, and the surrounding sea surged instantly, as if being cut off from all directions. Dylan's figure flashed and disappeared instantly. Gone. A cadre looked shocked. Shanks, Ben Beckman and Usopp looked serious. No. The dark clouds that had been cut off by the slash gathered again, even giving people the illusion that they had solidified. And the thunder among them has become even more astonishing. Violent thunder kept hitting the sea. Red Force is like a helpless leaf fluttering in the thunder. Be careful, Shanks. Pupils shrank suddenly. In the thundercloud, a giant Manos Grande figure with only 1 foot emerged. Kui Niu. The phantom jumped down from the thundercloud, as if it had life. Defend with all your strength. Boom. The sea collapses and the crew of the Red Force unleash their Haki to fend off the beasts of the sky. Puff. As the cadres fell to the ground, Shanks' hands began to shake. Such power. Already. Just when Shanks' strength was about to run out, Lei Guang finally dimmed. Shanks was panting and just spoke. A cadre who hadn't fallen to the ground screamed, Usopp. B********* D Marine. How dare you? Usopp, who was standing with everyone, disappeared. In the sky, Dylan pinched Usopp's neck, and under the blessing of armament Haki, the huge force pinched Jesus' throat with a click. Adam's Dylan, give me. To your mother. Dylan looked at Shanks. What are you? Are you worthy of my face? Snapped. Jesus' neck bone was broken, and his body hung limply. Usopp. Usopp. Dylan threw Usopp's body into the sea, and seemed to be still angry. A thunderbolt fell, and the body floating on the sea was instantly reduced to pieces. You. Shanks gasped, eyes burning. My buddy. You think you can go, redhead. The thunderclouds in the sky didn't seem to dissipate in the slightest, and even the roar of beasts in the thunderclouds could be vaguely heard. Boo 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 boo. The blue phone buzzer rang and Dylan hung up irritably. Boo 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 boo. Oh shit. Dylan looked at the blonde five elders after answering. Adams. Dylan, stop. The person who attacked your subordinate has been executed. Let's stop here. The man with red hair can't die now. Balance. Without his red hair, Dahai also has black hair, white hair, green hair. What kind of bullshit balance? After killing it, it will naturally be balanced. Dylan stared at the phone bug, refusing to back down. You know in your heart that this is not the case. And this man is different from other great pirates. Adams. Dylan, this is what Master, I am, means. The other party didn't hide it, and directly said the name of, I am. Dylan stared at the phone bug. What does it mean? Stop pretending. Showdown. You know I know about IM's existence. How do you know? The identity of Lousy's traverser is exposed. As compensation, Mariajoy will grant you an additional Vice Admiral rank and compensate you with a devil fruit. As you know, the fruits of Mariajoy are all those legendary varieties. A sense of crisis welled up in his heart, and Dylan's heart trembled. Wrong. Although his own G knowledge and knowledge can't predict the future like Ka-er. However, under Sky Island's unique, hard network, training method, it is absolutely impossible to hide the movement within a few kilometers or even more than 10 kilometers around. How the hell did the five elders know they'd already killed Usopp, and just in time to call? Is that it? I am. It is good. Dylan looked at the phone bug. Just as Mariajoy breathed a sigh of relief, Dylan's voice sounded again. It's even this time, but only this time. The five elders were silent, and seemed to acquiesce to this statement. Looking at the broken red force on the sea, Dylan's eyes flashed fiercely. But finally endured it. I am. What is the origin of this guy? Chapter 20. The Tontatta Clan. Drum Island. The wind and snow were howling all over the sky. Dylan doesn't have time to complain about why there is such a weather on the equator part of the planet. After several days of waiting, the ship organized by CP has successfully escorted Bell Mel to the Drum Kingdom. Our mission. The leading CP members looked at Dylan, ready to leave Bell and Mel. Where are you going? Dylan snorted coldly. Should I carry her up by myself? Quote. The CP members were silent for a while and then waved back. The crew on the boat carried the stretcher and followed Dylan up the mountain. After boarding Dr. Kurha's castle, Dylan waved his hand to signal that the CP people can get out. The CP members didn't care, and left with someone. Is that her? Dr. Kurha looked at the unconscious Belmel with a serious expression. The injury is quite serious. Dylan sat aside and didn't talk, just looked at Dr. Kurha. Is it sure to be cured? It's a complete one, without leaving any sequelae. Dylan saw some palpitations. Dr. Kurha said after a moment of silence. It's a bit difficult. The internal organs were penetrated by the powerful Haki, and the reason why she didn't lose her life was because of her will. New. Dylan stood up and walked over to the window. I'm going to New World, and I'll be back in about a month. Is it okay to keep his life alive during this time? No problem. Dr. Kurha nodded, and after getting the answer, Dylan's figure disappeared. A thunderbolt flew towards New World. Looking at the distant thunder light, Dr. Kurha was silent for a moment and then shook his head. Awesome kid. New World, Kingdom of Deris Rosa. Doflamingo, who has just become king, is reading a newspaper in the palace. Marine Rear Admiral fights Red Hair Pirates single in West Blue, Red Hair Pirates number 3. Usopp dies. Hey, he's really a powerful guy. Although there is no picture, Doflamingo is clear about the strength of the Red Hair Pirates. And the man who met him once in Magic Valley Town had such strength. Are you complimenting me? A voice sounded, and on the windowsill of the palace, a man sat there obliquely. Baby 5, who looked like a maid next to her, turned around and raised her hand when she heard the voice and didn't even think about it. In the process of raising her hand, her arm changed into a gun. Back off. Doflamingo gave a low snort. Baby 5 was taken aback for a moment, and then he couldn't believe it. Young master. Dylan looked at Baby 5 and Doflamingo indifferently. Without waiting for Dylan to speak, Doflamingo grabbed Baby 5's wrist and pressed down on the muzzle of the gun, and said again with a sullen face, "Stay back." After Baby 5 left, Doflamingo sat down again. "Yep, what are you doing here?" "Dark Dragon Vice Admiral." "Dark Dragon." Dylan was slightly taken aback. "Baby, it seems that you don't know yet. Dylan, your code name is Dark Dragon." HMPH. Dylan looked at Doflamingo. This B****************** D, isn't he lawless and dares to provoke anyone? I've come to ask for someone. Someone. Doflamingo's face darkened. Who do you want? I'm 7 warlords of the sea, you. Seeing Dylan's expression turn cold, Doflamingo forcibly swallowed the following words. It's not about my family, is it? What do I want your rotten fish and rotten shrimp for? Give Man Shwayli to me. No. Doflamingo's veins were exposed in an instant. Man Shuili can't do it. She is of great use to me. Is lousy discussing with you. You don't think Shichibukai's identity can really protect you, do you? You are a lifeless little sparrow. Dylan jumped down from the window sill, thrust Shura's scabbard into the ground, and then pulled Shura out. Doflamingo caught his breath. The man. He's coming for real. World government. Stop F********** G world government. You're just a punk who knows a little booger-sized secret. Shura rubbed the red blade on the ground, and sparks flew. I'll give you a minute, why don't you try asking someone for help now? Sengoku, Kaido, or Mariajoy. Quote. Mansurely, you have to return it after you use it up. Faced with the killing intent on Dylan, Doflamingo finally backed down. This is AB************* D who doesn't follow the rules of the game, even more outrageous than him. Are you bargaining with me? What right do you have to bargain with lousy? Advertisement. Dylan pulled out a cigarette and lit it. After taking a puff, Dylan stuck the cigarette upside down on the cake that Baby 5 brought over just now. Time is limited, don't give you a chance, you are useless. Doflamingo gritted his teeth and shouted towards the door, Toripal, bring Mansurely up. Toribal at the door poked his head out and took a look, and immediately exclaimed, an dark dragon, Dover. Go, Doflamingo shouted. Sweat builds up on Doflamingo's brow as the cigarette burns and Dylan looks him in the eye. Just when Mars was about to burn to the cigarette butt, Toribal rolled a thumb-sized girl to the top floor. You. The moment Mansurely looked at Doflamingo, tears welled up in her eyes. Seeing Mansurely's pitiful appearance, even Dylan, who was full of killing intent, couldn't help feeling a little distressed. Dylan glanced at Toribal, who trembled in fright, and gently rolled Mansurely to Dylan. Can you do me a favor? My friend is badly injured and in need of medical treatment. She's a Marine, a very kind Marine. Mansurely held her little hands together and looked up at Dylan. Are you a Marine too? But why? Ah, I'm Marine too, as a reward. Dylan turned to look at Doflamingo. Lousy knows what you're planning, you can't do this business, and the little people you deceived and locked up will all be given to Lousy. Put it back. After thinking for a while, Dylan looked back at Mansurely. With this guy around, Greenbit is not very safe. Do you have to live there? Mansurely shook her head. No, Greenbit is where we are. Dylan nodded. Then are you willing to migrate? Go to the place where I am stationed, it is safer. Doflamingo listened to Dylan's words, his eyes burning with anger. The B*********************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************** He actually. What about me? Dylan looked up at Doflamingo abruptly. Put away your dangerous thoughts while I'm not in such a bad mood. The muscles on Doflamingo's face trembled for a moment, as if his body had been hollowed out. He turned to Torrible and said, bring those little humans up here. Hearing these words, Man Shueli had an incredulous look on her face. The villain in pink clothes in front of her is willing to let her people go. It was the great hero who saved them. Man Shueli flew to Dylan's shoulders, clasped her hands together. You must be the legendary hero who can save the kingdom of Tontatta. Can you tell me your name? My name is Dylan. Adams Dylan. Dylan looked at Mancherly and said with a smile. Dylan Lando, thank you. When 500 tired little people were brought up and saw Mancherly in the room, they all surrounded them. Princess, are you cured? Princess. Standing on Dylan's shoulder and pointing at Doflamingo, Cheryl said, loudly, I'm not sick, it's that villain who lied to us. Then. Man Shirley pointed to Dylan and said, Dylan Lando saved us. It's too amazing. Dylan Lando. Dylan Lando. After buzzing for a while, Dylan glanced at the livid Doflamingo and then at Cheryl. Let's go back to Greenbit first. The migration is still up to your king to decide. When he reached the door, Dylan stopped and looked back at Doflamingo. If they didn't move, that's their freedom. But let me know that you step into Greenbit, and Lousy will kill you. Doflamingo bowed his head in silence, and Dylan wasn't about to ask for an answer. After Dylan left the palace, a strong conqueror's impact erupted from the top of the palace. Dylan glanced up contemptuously. If it weren't for some things that I haven't figured out yet, I'll kill you right now. After returning to Greenbit with the little people, Dylan met Gon Chao, the patriarch of the Tontatta tribe, and was warmly received by the Tontatta tribe. After the banquet was over, Gon Chao sat across from Dylan, and after a moment of silence, Gon Chao said, Man Shueli is right, we do not exist attached to Greenbit, we are Greenbit, but. Gon Chao's face was a little dignified. In order to abide by a certain promise, we can't leave here. Therefore. Dylan nodded. That is also your freedom. I have warned Doflamingo. Before I fall, he will not have the guts to attack you again. As that's so, do you really take care of me? If so, Gon Chao leaned on a cane and pondered for a moment before saying, we can't guarantee Manchueli's safety for the time being. Let her follow you, and besides. Gon Chao stomped his crutches, and the scene fell silent instantly. Leo, Kabu, Wicca, Bian, you all go too. Follow Dylan Lando. Leo's eyes lit up. That's right, Gon Chao said to Dylan after nodding, they are all the best fighters among young people. In addition to guarding Manchueli, they will also perform your mission. Huh, Leo yelled very unwillingly. Really, the princess is capricious, has a bad temper, and likes to beat people. Why do we have to do this kind of thing? Leo. Man Shuili rode on Leo's head and punched him. What are you talking about? Leo. It hurts, it hurts, it hurts. Come down, princess. You are too fat. Really, you are a brutal and wicked woman. On the coast of Greenbit, Dylan boarded the ship organized by CP with Man Shirley, Leo and others. Goncho stood on the shore and looked at the distant sails, leaning on crutches with both hands. Gon Chao, doing this, is it really a violation of the promise? An old man with the same white beard and hair walked up to Gon Chao and looked at the sea. Gon Chao didn't answer, and under the sunglasses, he couldn't see clearly what his expression was.